Islands of Pain, Hope and Love. A psychological drama thriller. By Dr. Herman Fridsma. Copyrights, Dr. Herman Fridsma. Netherlands, October 2015. Contact email address, dr.herman.fridsma@gmail.com. About author. Dr. Herman Fridsma, born May 4, 1964 in the Netherlands. Main studies. Social work, Baccalaureate, Hogeschool van Amsterdam, Amsterdam University of Applied Science, Netherlands. Behavioral modification of children in the intramural healthcare, postgraduate level. Leidens Hogeschool, University of Applied Science Leiden, Netherlands. Transactional analysis, Stonebridge College, United Kingdom. Crime policy, postmaster level, Free University, VU, Netherlands. Management in public organizations, graduate level, Institute of Social Science, ISW, Netherlands. Business coach, Nationale Handelsacademie, Netherlands. Business, finance and accountancy follow-up study curriculum, Stonebridge College, United Kingdom. TESOL graduate and postgraduate level, teaching business English and follow-up study curriculum, LTTC, United Kingdom. TESOL, Master of Arts TESOL, St. Clement's University, New. Theology, Doctorate, UOS, USA. Transpersonal Counseling, PhD, UOS, USA. Naturopathy, Classic Homeopathy, Automolecular Specialist and Follow-up Study Curriculum, Graduate and Postgraduate Level, Psycho Academy, Netherlands. Food Therapy, Postgraduate Level, Nutrimin, Netherlands. Oligotherapy, Postgraduate Level, Facultative Fan, Germany. Naturopathy, ND Doctorate, IBAM, Open International University and Government Attest, India. Introduction. The presented book and its storyline inhibits two functions. 1. Recreational entertainment function in case of book reading or audiobook listening. 2. Educational comprehensive reading or listening function in case of educational comprehensive book reading or audiobook listening. Recreational entertainment function. At level of the recreational entertainment function, the book can be read or listened as a developing story where the readers or listeners only focus at the storyline and its content for personal recreational and entertaining reading purposes. The reader or listener who is only focused at the recreational entertainment function, the book may skip the education section related to each chapter of the book. Educational comprehensive reading function. At level of the educational comprehensive reading or listening function, the book can be read as a developing story where the reader or listener is focused at skill development at level of comprehensive reading or listening based at personal development of comprehensive reading or listening skills via task executions which can be found in the education section of each chapter of the book. Specifics. Each chapter ends with an educational section called Education Section, Comprehensive Reading or Listening. The Comprehensive Reading or Listening Education section has as main goal to help develop advanced reading or listening skills so that the reader or listener can find out if one has understood the storyline and what personal thoughts one personally has developed related to the storyline and some of its characteristics. The educational section comprehensive reading or listening is based at a chapter summary next to tasks, questions and a discussion. The book chapter-related educational section forms a tool for self-assessment for the reader-listener in order to stimulate personal development of reading or listening skills. Those readers or listeners who want to read or listen to the book and its storyline for recreational and entertainment purposes only may skip the educational section at the end of each chapter and read or listen to the storyline like it is a regular book-related storyline for recreational reading and personal entertainment only while going to the next chapter and then continue reading or listening the sequence of follow-up chapters till the moment the book is finished. Those readers or listeners who want to read or listen the book and its storyline not only at recreational and entertainment level but also at level of personal development of reading or listening skills based at educational guidelines, go to the educational section at the end of each chapter and complete the tasks related to the educational section before going to the next chapter, and then continue reading or listening the sequence of follow-up chapters till the moment the book is finished. The reason for this double-function book presentation is to stimulate the reader or listener, at optional level of doing so, to develop one's personal reading or listening skills in order to find out for oneself if one truly understood the read storyline based at the story-related characters, logic, characteristics, timeline and event developments, in order to let oneself actively think about these core subjects at moment one starts executing the tasks related to the comprehensive reading or listening education section as part of self-assessment, but as told the educational section is an option one may skip. Have fun reading or listening. Dr. Herman Fridsma, Chapter 1, The Drifter Adrift. In the darkness of the night, a partly confused, mentally and physically tormented middle-aged Caucasian man with grey hair steps slowly while wounded through an unknown street. The man who wears glasses stumbles with some difficulty and clearly in pain step by step through the large and dark street of a small village where he was at that moment of time and space. All around the man is in deep silence while the only sounds heard are his stumbling footsteps. He was staring at a distant light that seems to guide and attract him. The man feels partly exhausted and is unaware of where he exactly is at this particular moment in time and space. His eyes had at certain moments difficulty adjusting to a strange orange-reddish glowing effect that interacts with the darkness of the night he noticed all around him, but which made that he could see a bit and that he could orientate himself while moving forwards. The adjusting difficulties of his eyes were caused because of the fluctuating diffuse brightness and tints of the glowing darkness. His mind is troubled of all kind of thoughts and he is driven by an obsessive thought to go to the light he sees far away in front of him, which slowly drives him forwards. It's an obsessive thought that partly consumes his mind and which he can't resist or suppress easily. At the sky the man notices a flash of lightning which was clearly seen by the man while also giving him a moment of bright focus at his surroundings. The lightning flash was some time later followed by the rumbling sounds of thunder that echoed all around him as a blast of noise, while slowly fainting away, followed by a lasting silence except of the footsteps of the man at the street. It was the familiar silence as noticed by the man since moment he was aware he was here in this village. Vaguely the man did notice a street sign and he walked with pain slowly towards the street sign which was at short distance from him. Each step the man set gave him pain sensations that shoots from his right leg through his body. Finally the man stands in front of the street sign and with great difficulty he could decipher the name of the street sign, which appeared to be Main Street. I'm at Main Street, but I don't exactly know where I'm, only that this is Main Street. I don't even know what the name of this town is or who the fuck I am, the man says to himself while standing still and wiping his face, which was sweaty and with blood. The man also cleaned his glasses, after which he slowly stepped further in the direction of the light that seemed to pull at him as if he was attached to that distant light, and the man also felt it that way while knowing it was all an illusion, but it drove him further because he could not resist it. A new flash of lightning is noticed by the man, but this time the thundering sounds took longer before he could hear it. The man knew instinctively that the thunder and lightning event was moving away from him. It was dry all the time since he was conscious and aware of the fact he was here in town, so no raindrops were noticed by the man, which pleased him because he did not want to get wet and cold because of rainfall. In silence the man hated and cursed the fact that he was here while stumbling in pain and with a troubled mind that also partially seemed to be erased because of empty memories and selective blur memories he could not place at this moment in time and space. At sudden moments vague images appeared in his mind. Images the man could not place and which were all part of a puzzle he could not solve, no matter how hard he tried to solve the puzzle and how hard he tried to let all pieces fit in. He could not succeed gaining results and to satisfy his hunger for information and knowledge because dark gaps in his mind prevented him to make logical connections related to his personal life, his past and present, and his existence in the here and now at this place and time. While at another level the man could think logical and smart from out of his intelligence, and he also acted instinctively with a deep feeling of being part of a metaphorical game of survival. The man felt that he was involved in a struggling event of life and death in order to survive because of his present physical and mental state of health that seemed to be stable for the moment but which was slowly declining per second while being in a strange environment with no specific recall of needed memories that could help him more deeply. The man felt clearly that life became slowly sucked out of him and that he could die if he wouldn't survive this game of survival in this desolate unknown environment. This strange unknown town and environment is not really bothering the man too deep, and all is accepted as a present fact of reality and seems further neutral and of no deep meaning to the man at this moment of time. The man seems to be totally alone while following his path of destiny with a specific agenda of his own while not being aware of this particular agenda and not knowing of its specific meaning, purpose and details. It's after midnight. The man just checked his watch, which was located at his left wrist, while in the meantime he was cursing the fact that the fluctuating glowing darkness of the night limits his sights, although he found it a bit odd that the darkness is clearly accompanied by the noticed lasting fluctuating slight orange-reddish glow that seems to be constantly present, but he is also happy with this glowing effect no matter its fluctuations because that slight glow makes he can orientate a bit no matter the darkness of the night. The night and this unknown village are taken as a fact of natural reality. The man sees himself as an involuntary traveling drifter at this specific moment in time and space while just crossing this town and absorbing it as a memory without a specific significant deep meaning to him personally. A low-powered constant wind is present and gets grip at a piece of paper nearby the man while blowing it away from him. It is silent at Main Street where he walks. The few trees is noticed by the stumbling man are all without leaves, and there is a lasting light burned rubble-like smell in town. The man accepts reality for what it is without paying attention to it or giving it deeper thoughts. The man has difficulty with thinking and remembering, and he feels tired, empty, broken and in pain, but he tries to neglect all while following his path and driven by impulses of survival. No other sounds are heard except of the irregular footsteps of the man himself, who slowly moves forwards attracted by the light that seems to consume part of his being, while simultaneously at unconscious level of the man that light is also manipulating his brain and mind by acting as a pressing stimuli related to a by the man expected reward. At moment he keeps responding to the conditions of the stimuli in order to claim the reward. At moment all conditions of the stimuli are fulfilled. At far distance the man did suddenly hear the distant barking sounds of a dog that as suddenly ends as that it started, so eventually also the last echoes of the barking sounds fades away and the man feels alone again. The small town appears dead, dark and without life because no living soul is noticed by the man since the moment he was here in town at the streets of this unknown slightly orange-reddish glowing environment. The man thinks at logical level of his mind that the fluctuating light orange-reddish glowing effects are caused by a natural phenomena in the atmosphere caused by the sun, and he doesn't pay any other or deeper thoughts to it. The man doesn't know how and when and under which circumstances and conditions he arrived in this strange town. His memories are at certain points vague and blur or completely gone. The man hates it that he has gaps in his memories he can't fill or bridge, but he tries to deal with it as good as he can by adapting the memory handicap as a moment-related fact of life because of him not being able to unlock the cabinet of memories in his brain at this moment in time or to change its conditions. The village is small and is like other ordinary small town places as far as memories of the man can compare it, so all is taken for granted. Nobody in town seems present except for the man himself at this late hour of night. The man thinks by himself that nobody is noticed at the streets and all is dark because maybe people sleep early, so there is no real nightlife in town, and as far as noticed by himself during his stumbling walk in town, he didn't saw a nightclub or bar in town since moment he was conscious of being in town himself. The man feels alone and slightly confused and troubled with thoughts which he tries to silence, but he is still on the move, driven by impulses. He does not know who he is or where he is, so he takes this town for granted as an abstraction of no significant meaning. It troubles the man that he doesn't know how he came here in town, in this familiar-looking place but also not familiar environment, because as far as he knows he was never earlier here in town, so all is contradicting and confusing him when shifting and analyzing reality in order to abstract facts. The man knows he deals with sincere memory gaps, true memory projections and false memory projections. The man is limp, so he walks difficult because of pain in his right leg caused by an accident which seems to have happened not that long ago and which explains his slow and slightly disturbed movements, but the man has no memory of the accident and the fact of how he got wounded. The man is obsessively concentrated and focused at a distant small but clear and bright shining light which he sees at the end of Main Street. The light is coming out of a by the man not too difficult to recognize big corner building complex which contours can be vaguely but clearly noticed by the man no matter his present position and distance from the building, because of the shining light inside that building concentrated several levels high and the slight orange-reddish glowing effects of the big building surrounding environment. The light fascinates, magnetizes and attracts him, so he instinctively longs for the inviting light which is triggering a feeling of homecoming and safety, a feeling which becomes stronger by each step the man goes further in the direction of the building and its light, as if the light acts like a beacon to guide him in, to welcome him. The man's eyes are a bit reddish and feel tired because of lack of sleep, but his eyes feel not broken and still filled with fire of life. The man feels weak and exhausted, but he also feels alive and determined to continue his journey to the unknown destiny at unknown territory in order to reach his goal and destiny, no matter where that may be and or who or what stands in his way, so he forces himself to go further and not giving up. No matter the fact that the man hates pain, he is happy still being able of feeling the pain impulses which at certain moments torture his body. He is no masochist, but he is happy because these pain impulses makes him aware he is still conscious and alive while being capable to feel pain, and because of him being alive he can execute his plan of survival as long as his physical condition doesn't decline too far by disabling him this way, so he won't be able by then to act, so he knows he will die for sure if he isn't be able to save himself or if he doesn't find help in time before the point of no return. The only thing the man hates more as the present sensed pain impulses in his body are the gaps in his memories and his emotional pain he still cannot place because he doesn't know what the source is of that pain he feels because of gaps in his memory preventing him to remember facts of his life. It is as if it isn't allowed for him to open doors of certain experienced events and happenings where he was part of, for better and for worse. The man feels his present health status and agony must be related to an accident that was causing a deep psycho-emotional trauma where he probably could not deal with, so psychological defense mechanisms got activated which are protecting him since then, and he assumes that probably his brain is also partially traumatized at physical level because of accident-related possible brain damage or a brain injury, and that all must have happened somewhere in time not that long ago causing him these nasty effects, but it could also be he could have had non-accident related brain affecting disease that slowly affected his brain and mind at a certain moment in time, and which effects are maybe responsible for the assumed accident that wounded him. The man thought about the plausible reality projections related to his present state of physical and mental health condition, and then he decided for himself that he thinks that his present status of mind must be caused by psychological trauma and brain damage or injury, and he accepts this combination conclusion assumption as a ceteris paribus, other circumstances constant, fact to explain his present troubles, so at present moment there is for him no need to investigate the case more deeper because his first priority right now is how to survive, all while knowing his physical strength is declining and him facing death in case he fails at his mission of survival. Instinctively he knows only the strong can survive. Time went extremely slow for the man, minutes seems hours to him, but he doesn't pay much attention to that fact of perception. He has the feeling being imprisoned by a time and place moment he doesn't want to be part of because of him suffering and in mental and physical pain. The man knows he must accept facts and can't surrender to fantasy and wishful thinking because of him willing to survive and to live while trusting his survival instincts, which makes he must act in the present here and now while dealing with facts of reality. All the man wants at the moment is a simple place to be safe and to recover before picking up his life to a higher plan. The man feels instinctively that his goal is to reach the light in order to survive. The distant in darkness and orange-reddish glow vaguely but still clear recognizable corner building with its small bright shining light spot is part of an increasing growing obsession for the man he can't neglect or resist. Instinctively he pushes himself at conscious level of mind to go to the building and the light in order to be safe. The instinct of survival is prominent present and adrenaline levels are high at physiological level of the body of the man while stumbling further and taking the present physical pain for granted because it's all about his personal survival and his will to live while knowing his present physical condition is declining and him feeling weaker with the knowledge he can die when he fails or makes mistakes. The man's clothes are locally damaged, dirty and soaked of sweat, while sweat is also running and dripping from his face, so at certain moments the man wipes his face with the sleeve of the jacket he wears. It is a medium-sized beige camel leather jacket covered with spots of dirt, wetness and blood. The man hates it when the sweat contacts his eyes, causing light burning sensations of the eye that comes in contact with his facial sweat, and he also cleans at certain moments his glasses at moment his sights get affected in a negative sense because of sweat affecting the glasses. The sweating is caused by the physical effort and willpower of the man to survive and to move forwards for what seems to be a torturing process he is engaged to for hours. No matter his present handicaps, the man feels unstoppable. Mind power and a determined strong will drives and pushes him forwards so he doesn't give up fighting in order to survive and to find a safe place to be. The man's personal willpower is fed by desires and long safety, which are all triggered by the presence of the light in the big building the man is focusing on, because that light he is personally associating with people and safety and a place for help. The inner mind of the man gets slowly step by step invaded by unexplainable impulses and feelings of fear and hate that also seems to try to occupy his conscious inner thoughts as part of unexplained inner conflicts and battle he has no knowledge of at this moment in time, so the man tries to suppress and neglect all because he doesn't want to get distracted from his mission. The closer the man step by step nears the light at the end of the street, the more he tries to push aside the negative sensations while strengthening himself, no matter his longing for knowledge to find out truth related to himself, because his mission is more important at this moment and gets all his attention in order to try to succeed. The suppressed but by impulses in strength increasing upcoming negative feelings and thoughts of fear and anger remain present at the background while waiting for a crack to break through and manifest itself. The nearby presence of the light is influencing, hypnotizing and consuming the man totally and is irresistible for him because of its energizing new energy flow that seems to be directed and concentrated at him personally while simultaneously pushing him to step forwards with no option for escape. The man knows all is psychologically, but he also knows he can't resist because he feels it as an accepted reality for the time being. It is a cold night. Far too cold for October of this time period of year in autumn, and the sky is totally clouded, so no stars or the moon are noticed because of these weatherly atmospheric circumstances that prevent light of stars and the sun to moon reflection being visible at local level of where the man is at this specific moment in time and space. The man doesn't mind he can't see the stars or the moon, and he doesn't feel the cold weather effects at his physical body, no matter the fact of himself constant being sweating during his struggle to continue following his path. He is on autopilot mode while instinctively reacting and driven by his brain-controlled body functions and autonomic physical body functions and his psycho-emotional willpower of survival at all costs, no matter existing manifest physical and emotional pains and trauma. It is dark around the man except of the presence of the lasting slight orange-reddish glow and the light at the end of the street inside the corner building that acts like a magnet and as a guiding, inviting beacon to the man. The man shivers for a moment, stops, takes a deep breath and then continues his difficult irregular pas caused by his limp right leg, which he curses in silence. The man is aware of the fact that he is injured and that he is also lightly bleeding at his head, which according to his logic sense must be caused by a cut not that long ago, but he don't know why and how he got wounded and cut at his head, and he also clearly senses that his chest is in pain, so breathing goes not easy and each step seems at certain times like torture because of difficult breathing and his limp and painful hurt right leg, but that doesn't stop the man to continue because he is determined to fulfill his mission. A mission to survive at all costs. He only will quit if he collapses or dies. Survival is part of the man's true being for as long as he remembers. Why me? What is happening to me? The man says to himself while he slowly continues his way and feeling sad. Images of a tall, slim and classic dressed shoulder-length graying brunette middle-aged woman with glasses pops up in his mind. Tears are spontaneously running from his eyes. He feels deep emotional pain, sorrow and sadness, a sensation complex he could not stop. The man is too tired and not capable to suppress the upcoming emotional impulses from out of his unconscious and subconscious mind because he is tired fighting constantly, but he knows he must try to regain self-control of himself. Why? He mumbles softly while still overwhelmed by his emotional pain. The man stops and wipes again his eyes, and then he slaps himself hard in his face in order to regain control of himself and to continue his mission to the distant building. Concentrated light. Are you a man or a soft weakling? He says in anger to himself while slowly regaining control of his emotions. He curses his moment of weakness that distracts him from his mission. For a brief moment he looks around him with a clear mind that isn't blocked for a moment, and he clearly notices at conscious level of mind, at level of full awareness with some difficulty, the desolate environment around him covered by the orange-reddish glow and darkness of the night, which accents give all a surrealistic appearance. The man sees and clearly observes for a moment of time a small town of partly old houses and a few shops and bald trees, while all is covered by the dark of the night and an orange-reddish glow, so he doesn't recognizes it easily. No streetlights are working, and the few cars he noticed nearby and earlier during his torturing walk are all old. The revealed scene and atmosphere seems surrealistic to the man, a conclusion he stated after personal interpretation of the village scenery by himself. The man continues his walk towards the big building at the end of Main Street. The whole town seems to be abandoned and covered by the orange-reddish glow and the dark, except for the distant light at end of Main Street in the big building that intrigues and attracts him, and which he sees as an inviting place where he instinctively feels people must be present to help him. Each step the man moves seems like hours and in slow motion. His tormented mind tries to remember what happened and how he stranded here in this desolate environment. No matter how hard the man tries to remember, to force his brain to deliver the long data, all remain staying hidden in the darkness of his unconscious mind, except for the image of the graying brunette woman who clearly smiles at him while waving at him, which makes him again battle against tears welling up from his eyes. Who the fuck am I, and who is that lovely beautiful woman that pops up in my mind, haunting me and making me feel emotional and upset? Why am I sensing anger, pain and sorrow as if my soul gets ripped out? What the fuck happened that I can't remember, and how did I came here in this fucking place while in this fucking condition and bad shape? The man says to himself while questioning himself and being upset and angry because of his lack of memories and information, and him sensing his mind is partly blanked while he is desperately longing for plain simple answers, but no matter how hard he tries, his mind remains blur and clouded no matter his efforts to try to remember all. The man leans against a not working street light, wipes his face while staring at the distant light at the end of Main Street. Instinctively he knows it takes time for him to get to the big dark building with the light because of the handicap of his present state of physical condition. I feel so fucking tired, exhausted and in pain, but I must go on. I feel that time is running out. I don't know how much time I have before I collapse or worse, the man mumbles while pressing his jaws together and pushing himself to not give up while in full awareness of his personal deadline at level of life and death. The man continues his walk and is suddenly aware of a weird smell of rotting sewer substances. It is an extreme disgusting smell that gets stronger by the second while spreading fast. Rapidly the extreme rotting sewer smell replaces the smell of burned rubber that normally is present all the time in this desolate environment, a fact that already was confirmed by the man at moment he entered town not that long ago, and which smell he was used since then. The strong rotting sewer smell gets so overwhelming strong after having replaced the burned rubber smell that the man spontaneously vomits at the spot where he stands still. "Fuck man, this is disgusting," he shouts out loud after he finished vomiting in the public street called Main Street and being angry and heavily irritated. He looks at his vomited stomach content, which strongly smells, but the vomit splash cannot be noticed clearly in the dark except the scent of fresh vomit that tickles his nostrils and make him, in combination with the rotting sewer smell, vomit again because of the rotting sewer scent and vomit scent smell interactions, which are producing an extremely disgusting combination scent that makes one get an enormous urge to puke, which the man in this case could not resist. The houses at Main Street stayed closed and no reaction or whatever is noticed. All is silent around the man except of his own heavily and fast breathing sounds. The vomiting actions were not without pain, and if the man could look closer then he could notice he also vomited some blood. Suddenly the man felt spinning and fainting sensations. "Fuck, I feel dizzy," he mumbles to himself while simultaneously trying to not collapse, and he has to pause to prevent hyperventilation by breathing slow to temper his fast and difficult breathing in order to regain physical control over himself. The man sits down at the sidewalk while conducting his breathing exercises, and he was glad noticing that the extreme sewer odor smell slowly disappears to get replaced again by the familiar smell of burned rubber, which now returns to its normalized previous environmental smell situation. "I'm happy this terrible horrible sewer smell is almost gone by now. I could barely breathe. I wonder where this extreme strong disgusting scent came from, and why nobody in this town had noticed this extreme scent, and why nobody reacts to find out what happened. Yes, I find it very weird nobody else did smell the strong and disgusting scent. It was strong enough to awake the strongest sleeper and to let him or her spontaneously puke like I did twice. Yeah, it is odd nobody was curious or came to check it out. What kind of weird village is this?" He thinks and wonders while his hand slides slowly through his gray hair after he had wiped his face clean. The man turns his head and looks at the distant building light while thinking, "Yes, I must go there for help. I think I have no other choice because I'm in a bad physical health shape myself. My chest still hurts and the pain in my right leg is killing me. Let me investigate it more closer." The man bends himself while still in a sitting position and then carefully feels each part of his painful right leg and notices that his jeans are ripped open and wet of blood at level of his right knee. He identified that the noticed wet substance was blood after cautious licking with the tip of his tongue the top of the finger that was in contact with the knee wound and wet substance before spitting the particles of the tasted blood carefully out. This alternative identification by means of taste action was needed in order to identify the blood for sure via the easy taste test, because he could not see clear enough for a clear identification at visual level to notice what kind of substance the wet substance was. He had to identify because of the dark, no matter the presence of the orange-reddish glow. His knee sends at this moment increased nerve-related pain sensations which are terribly hurting him at conscious level of experience pain while the open wound is still bleeding. The man acts fast and shreds a piece of his shirt to bind his knee after cleaning of the wound as good as possible given the circumstances. He breathes heavily because of his chest pain and narrowed lung capacity during his bend posture at moment he treated his knee, but he is pleased he is capable of binding his knee. A quick chest self-exam stated the fact that the man had no broken ribs, while further physical examination stated that the head wound wasn't that severe, but as precaution to prevent infection and to seal the wound he did bind his upper head above his left eye with a shred part of his already used shirt. The man felt thirsty and hungry while knowing there is nothing available to eat or drink for him around him. He remembers the smelly sewer event while slowly standing up, and he remembers the fact nobody came out to investigate the extreme odor. "Hello, can anybody help me? I'm badly hurt and need medical care," the man shouts out as hard as he can within limitations of his hurt chest part. The sound of his voice fades away till it becomes silent again. No reaction is noticed, no window or door gets opened, and no help of a caring individual is offered to assist him during his moments of agony. The man desperately shouts again, "Please, can anybody help me? I'm in terrible pain." No response followed. All remained silent. This small town must be abandoned, or the homeowners are extremely deafened or unwilling to help a person in need of help, he sadly thought. "I hate this fucking creepy place," the man said in anger while spitting at the ground. Moments later he is again looking at the light at the end of Main Street, which seems to be his last hope given the present circumstances. "I hope there will be indeed people in that building in front of me in the light room who are willing to help me and who are capable of providing help. I need help," the man mumbles while he forces himself to go further to continue his walk to the light. So again he steps slowly in the direction of the light. The man was less optimistic by now because of the non-given help he loudly begged for moments ago while in pain and agony, and the fact that no response or whatever was noticed by him. What is this for a fucking creepy place where people are not willing to help a person in pain? He thought while again spitting at the ground and pressing himself to stay alert at high level of security because he didn't trust the whole village environment and its not reacting citizen anymore. The desolate place, he now partly had qualified as a hostile and non-friendly place, he has to pass in order to find an escape to the populated world of caring people and health professionals, or he stays in order to hope to find shelter and help in the big building complex where the light is located. Other options the man did not have given his personal status of agony and personal health. The man clearly knows his options of survival are limited, especially given his slowly worsening physical condition and a real-time chance of him collapsing because of exhaustion, hunger and thirst next to his declining health condition. So his first decision to go to the light located in the big building is still the most logical option to execute and to investigate for him, next to the fact that all is nearby and visible at visual sight, which increases his chance of survival because he feels he physically can bridge the distance because of the short range, and it comforts him that the big building looks solid and protective in his eyes. He feels his physical power is still strong enough to reach that building with the light spot without all too much difficulty, as long as his body acts as demanded by him. The man walks in a slow tempo while still in pain further towards the light in the hope to find the desired help. He suddenly hears in the silence of the night disturbing crackling sounds coming from the direction of a nearby field, sounds that in a straight line rapidly relocates itself towards his direction. The man's heart is bouncing fast while adrenaline boosts prepare him for defensive fight or run. What is causing that strange sounds that comes to my direction in a straight line? He thinks. I don't trust it. Maybe the source is hostile. I think I must prepare myself for the worst, the man says with a whispering voice. With a fast move of his right hand, the man instinctively grabbed to the side of his belt, where attached to the belt is a leather knife holder containing a buck knife. The man quickly opens the holder and gets out the buck knife with his right hand, while simultaneously at the same moment with one quick movement of his trained left hand he is opening and fixating the blade of the knife, which gets locked and fixated by a clicking sound in order to confirm the knife is fully operational. The whole operational knife locking and fixating procedure only took seconds to get completed. No matter the fact the man faces memory loss, the man instinctively handled from out of his second nature, while knowing without personal doubts that he is well trained in handling a knife as a tool for personal usage but also at level of self-defense. The man is now fully focused at the rapid moving sounds while slowly moving to a nearby house for protection against an attack in the back by using a wall as back shield. The man now clearly hears growling sounds which reminded him of the barking dog he did hear earlier this night not that long ago. Would the dog I did notice at far distance earlier this night be this dangerous animal, and has he smelled and sensed me since my arrival in this town? So this animal I now hear is the barking dog earlier this night? Did he ask himself, while totally alert of his direct environment and the aggressive behaving clearly hostile dog nearby him who clearly has picked him as a target to attack? The situation became very tense. The man who by now slowly became loaded with adrenaline because of the increasing stress he experienced felt being stressed up in a positive sense and ready to fight by taking his chance against the unknown violent dangerous dog he still could not identify clearly. He forgot the pain sensations related to his physical wounds and slowly he did pass a gate of a private house while walking backwards so his physical front part and his knife-holding hand still faces the direction of the growling dog-related sounds. He still did not had seen the animal but the growling sound of a big dog became louder and louder. The man was near a wall of the house so the wall protected his back as planned earlier. The man knew he must act fast and tactical because of the handicap of his physical health condition which is poor. The man instinctively knew the growling sound he just heard was the sound of a big dog in an attacking mood not scared for people. The man is now totally concentrated and he felt no fear sensations anymore. He now was fully prepared at level of survival and self-defense to protect himself and when needed to kill. He started to growl by himself while making louder and louder growling sounds towards the nearing attacking dog who now came in clear sight in the dark of the night and the orange-reddish glow. The dog was a big German Shepherd. The distance between the big dog and the man was small and the loud growling dog had his teeth visible making clear he was ready to attack and to kill. Man and dog were growling to each other while looking at each other for tactical advantage. Then suddenly the big dog jumped at the man and started biting and tearing at flesh and clothes of the man who now because of the jump power and the weight of the dog falls at the ground while instinctively stabbing the dog wherever he can and as fast as possible while holding full grip at the sharp but small buck knife. The dog was just as the man bleeding and wounded but kept on attacking, biting and tearing at fleshy parts of the screaming man. The man knows that if he loses his knife he would be killed on the spot instantly and teared apart by the dog and partly eaten alive because he already saw this big dog as a killing hunter experienced in killing events and not scared of humans or to kill humans. The dog made a loud howling yelling sound at moment the man stabbed the belly of the dog and ripped it wide open so the dog's bowels came out. The man drove his knife and hand deep inside the open belly cut wound to kill the dying dog. The man had no mercy for the big killer dog because it was he or the dog who would survive the brief but violent fight at level of life and death between man and dog and it was he who got victorious because of remaining cool, in control of the fight and not panicked. Now the man was heavily breathing and exhausted while laying at the ground with part of a dead dog cadaver over his body which was covered by fresh blood. The man pulled back his blood-covered and still blood-dripping knife-holding hand out of the cut belly wound of the dog and he throws off the still bleeding dog cadaver away from his body to free himself and to clean the knife and placing it back inside the leather knife holder. The bowels of the dog were for a big part outside the dog cadaver in front of the man who shakes his head. It's a pity that this beautiful German Shepherd was a killer dog and that I had no other option as to kill him but I had no choice as to do what I had to do by means of a clear kill, he softly but bittered said while emptying his mucus-filled nostrils with a hard blow per nostril so all slime particles hit the ground and his nose was freed of the slime. The man was wounded at several places because of the dog attack so he had sincere bleeding biting wounds which needed immediately medical emergency care. He feels exhausted and took time to slowly recover for as far as possible given the existing situation. The whole fight didn't took lots of time but was very noisy and bloody. How come nobody came out to investigate the loud noises made during the fight or to offer help after noticing the fight was ended? The man wondered again while sitting at the ground for a brief moment of rest and to wipe his sweaty forehead. He looked for a second time at the bloody cadaver of the dead dog he just killed and then he slowly stood up while entering the door of the house he had chosen for his back defense. For a moment he leans against the door of the house with his head bent downwards while breathing deep and slow. The man felt seriously weakened and a bit nausea but he refused to give up and die. His mind was razor sharp and he needed help, so he decided to give it another shot to try to get attention of the people who live here in this house or from someone else related to the surrounding houses, and if he would get a big 0 as response, then he considered he would decide to break into the house because he needed to take care of his wounds and he felt he had too little physical power left of his own at this moment to push himself over the limit by forcing himself to go to the big building complex, to the lightened room which is clearly visible from the sidewalk. The man felt he was at the end of his own powers and had to reload himself after applying emergency first aid, and who knows, maybe he could get some useful items or food or whatever inside the house to accommodate his needs. The man started bouncing at the door while shouting and screaming, "Hey, anybody home? Please, can you open the door? Can you help me?" No reaction came in return. No light switched on and no other sounds were noticed. All remained silent and dark related to the house and its surroundings. The man now knew for sure that the house and probably the whole village was truly deserted, but he gave it no further thoughts. He felt frustrated and angry and felt no urge anymore to repeat his vocal call for help, to not waste any more of his energy he hardly needed for himself. The man was now considering at level of his mind of how he could break into the house the most simple way. He assumed logically that nobody would react if he would force himself an entrance into the house by breaking glass, because he simply expect nobody being present and nobody caring of what he did. For the man, breaking into the house was truly a matter of life and death. For a moment the man was watching at the door, which was divided into two parts of windows which were placed in the door setting while separated of each other by a big wooden strip. He decided to break a part of the upper window in the right corner next to the door handle. With his right elbow the man broke with a fast whiplash-like bouncing tick the door window part he was focused on, so breaking glass parts came down with noise while breaking further after hitting the floor. A big smile appears at the face of the man, who was happy with the results of the nice partial window glass break and the resulting hole in the remaining door window part. Then he entered the house after moving his arm inside the broken door window opening in order to release the door lock from the inside out so he could free the door after unlocking the lock and using of the door handle to open the door. His first urgency when inside the house entrance hall was to make light and to take care of his wounds. The house the man just entered was an old house similar as the houses he had noticed in the diffuse orange-reddish glow in the night during his walk at moment he was in this unknown village. The man already knew based at his previous observations of the property that the house was no big house but an average-sized house, while he also assumed that the house probably belonged to a low-middle-class owner who could afford it to buy the house with or without mortgage, but who by now probably faces financial problems and difficulties because of the clearly noticed bad shape of the property as witnessed by the man. The house seemed to be in a poor state of maintenance as noticed by the state of decay and dirt, which all was further of no importance to the man personally because it was of no significance to him. He was not the owner and he was only trespassing and breaking in because of being driven by his needs and having no other options left, so nothing was personal. The only thing that counted for the man were facts, logics and interpretations based at facts and logic next to his will to survive at all costs. All was dark inside the house because the man could not see anything since the moment he stepped inside the house entrance hall. The house contained a heavy rotten smell of old air mixed with the smell of decaying products and rotting flesh. It is a kind of smell which made the man almost puke again, but he did all to neglect and suppress the smell sensations for as far as possible so it would be less disturbing for him to face the smell sensations that filled his nostrils. Fuck man, what a rotting smell I face again, and I can't see anything because of the total dark since I'm inside this creepy house, he said with anger in his voice while touching at the wall for a light switch he hoped to find but could not find. Quickly the man groped inside the pocket of his jacket and to his relief he found the lighter, which he quickly activated so the small flame acted as a flickering light to show him a bit of the environment of the house interior. The walls were white but dirty and at certain places cracked, while cobwebs were noticed in the hall. After a brief orientation the man noticed the main light switch in the hall and switched it on. What the hell, the man said loudly while being frustrated after noticing that no light could be activated via the light switch. He was not amused noticing he could not activate the electrical light via the light switch. The state of the entrance hall did confirm his earlier assumption the house was deserted. The floor of the hall was related to a black and white carpet square motif stated floor which by now was covered with dust and dirt. The man noticed via the flickering lighter flame an old umbrella at the hall floor in front of him which he quickly picked up, after which he shredded the fabric of the umbrella to bind it all together on top of the umbrella. The man was pleased, then he took his lighter and set the fabric in flame so he could use the umbrella as a torch while putting his lighter back into the pocket of his jacket. The man now could see more clear and opened the door near the front door of the entrance, and he stepped inside the room which appeared to be the kitchen. The kitchen floor was just like the floor of the hall, a black and white carpet square motif stated floor while dirty and covered with dust. The walls were white, filthy, and the man could notice cobwebs. This house must truly be abandoned for a long time. What a mess and what a smell. Nobody can live in such environment, the man thought while he shook his head and quickly wiped his sweaty forehead. Then he did cough and spit slime from out of his throat at the dusty floor. The man saw a towel near the kitchen sink hanging next to a kitchen closet. He took the towel and started to shred the towel into long pieces because the burning fabric on top of the umbrella was almost burned up, so he made a new umbrella top wrap of the shredded towel and set it in flames after removal of the old umbrella wrap, while knowing it won't last long, so he was quickly seeking for alternatives while his mind was thinking fast because of the pain impulses and him bleeding and needing emergency care. Next to the kitchen sink the man saw a dust-covered modern hybrid combination electric and gas oven with big cooking pans on top of it which were all covered with a layer of dust. Above the oven at a self-mounted bookshelf the man noticed a small microwave and an old electric grill which were all covered with dust. At the sill related to the kitchen windows the man saw some pots which once belonged to flowers and plants, but the pots were empty except of a content of old remains of dirt covered with a layer of dust related to each pot at the sill. The ceiling of the kitchen contained 2 sets of big fluorescent lights. The man noticed a white painted dirty and dust-covered wooden kitchen table against the opposite wall in front of the sink with some dust-covered cups on top of it and 4 matching dirty and dust-covered white painted wooden kitchen chairs around it, while at the wall a shelf was mounted that contained dusty pots with herbs. The man in need of a more functional torch stepped straight towards the kitchen table and then cracked one of the chairs after throwing it at the kitchen floor, followed by a hard powered downwards kick of his left foot at one of the chair legs in order to break it off, which easily succeeded. He then kicked the rest of the kitchen chair remains into pieces in order to ventilate and ease down his felt anger, emotions and frustrations of the past 20 minutes. The man picked up the wooden kitchen chair leg he had broken at first and wrapped shredded towel remains on top of it and set it in fire via the flames of the burning umbrella top, while knowing the wood of the broken chair leg would also burn, so he had created a more lasting burning torch as replacement of the umbrella torch. The man took a chair and positioned himself at the chair for a brief rest period while breathing heavy and coughing because of the dust particles. He got slowly used to the smelly rotten air, concentrated sensations and the dust inside the house, and spit at the kitchen floor while shaking his head. The man had it difficult with himself no matter his adaptation at level of the air quality inside the house and the cobwebs, dirt and dust. I must treat my wounds at once at the moment I regain grip at myself, he mumbled while feeling dizzy and nausea next to sensing tingling prickling sensations in his face and him fighting against himself in order to not faint. The man eased his breathing by slow and deep breathing exercises no matter his pain and hurt chest, because he knew time is not at his side, and in the meanwhile he experienced some comfort during the breathing exercises which gave him relief. He spit at the floor and wiped his sweat-dripping forehead. Slowly the man stood up and stepped to the kitchen sink that contained some dirty food plates and glasses, and then he opened the water tap. A lasting loud rumbling sound was heard from the water pipes, then after seconds a smelly watery substance splashed out of the water tap. It was a stinky dark-colored watery drab substance. The man's stomach almost emptied because of the disgusting smell, and he immediately closed the water tap so the rumbling sound stopped. "Damned, what a fucking bad smelling and disgusting drab is that. What a fucking house," the man shouted in anger after he, via the light of his torch flame, which he firmly holds in his hand, clearly had witnessed the dark watery drab in the kitchen sink with the rotten eggs smell and dark watery drab splashes at the already dirty food plates and glasses. He then stepped to the kitchen cabinet and opened all kitchen cabinet doors and threw out for him unusable content in order to find useful items while in focused search mood in order to find the hard-needed items to accommodate his present needs. Plates, glassware and cups broke down with a noisy sound when hitting the floor and breaking into pieces, but the man didn't mind. He found some clean towels and a big bottle of natural acetic acid and was happy with the found vinegar and towels, so a smile appeared at his face. The man fixates and clams his torch at the kitchen sink after picking up a drawer. He took out of the kitchen cabinet, and placing it on top of the non-burning end of the torch afterwards, he slowly removed his blood and dirt-covered clothes till he was totally naked, and he also removed his old wound bindings in order to replace the old bindings, and him willing to see the true condition of the wounds now he has light of the burning torch to witness all. The man shivers because of sensed chills caused by the cold air stream inside the house coming from the broken door window and the open kitchen door, but then he took a deep breath and picked up a towel which he drenched with vinegar and started to clean parts of his naked body and his wounds while also splashing pure vinegar straight from the big bottle at the wounds. It is equally cold inside the house as that it is outside the house because the house is not heated and because of the broken door window, so again the now naked man shivers a bit. The man examines the wounds carefully in the light of the burning torch, and he had his jaws tight together because of the acetic acid. Direct open wounds, contact-related pain sensations at moment of cleaning out the wounds, and he shredded some of the by him collected towels into pieces in order to bind the wounds, which appeared to be less extreme as he thought earlier, and which made him feel more confident about his physical condition and the condition and healing prospects of the affected wounds. After he had cleaned and bound all wounds as good as possible given the circumstances, the man took his old dirty blood-covered clothes and again dressed himself. After finishing his activities, the man felt extremely tired, hungry and thirsty. The pain was still present, but the man was pleased of the cleaning and binding results as part of improvised emergency medical aid. The man wiped his sweaty head and took some time to observe the kitchen more closely, and noticed by then that the kitchen was just like the entrance hall, filthy and with cobwebs, and that the kitchen curtains were decaying. The kitchen was a mess, which was worsened because of the spread broken pieces of porcelain plates, cups and glass work which was all lying spread at the dirty kitchen floor. It must have been a very long time ago that people were in this house, the man thought while also thinking of the old cars he had noticed outdoors during his stumbling walk. What the hell happened here? He wondered while his eyes got the attention of a kitchen block of knives he saw near the kitchen sink. The man stepped to the block that contained the kitchen knives and took out two of the biggest meat knives and placed the knives at his side while being held at its place by the belt of his dirty, blood spots covered and partially shredded blue jeans. The man had taken the extra knives as precaution related to other unwanted dangerous encounters in case it would happen, because he felt not being in a safe area anymore and wanted to be prepared against unexpected hostile attacks like moments ago during the fight between life and death with the dog, which he only did win by staying cool during the fight and to cut open the belly of the dog and then by killing of the animal that wanted to kill him. After placing the knives at his side, the man went to the big kitchen storage closet, which he found almost empty except for some plastic bottles of water and soft drinks. The man felt much better now. He was able to protect himself better in case of an attack. Now he had extra knives to handle in case of need, and the now found water and soft drinks made he could ease his extreme thirst sensations. He knew that a human being could not survive without water for long. Ha! Ha, ha, the man laughed out loud while being happy at least he could ease his dry throat and his thirst sensations. He took all the bottles he found and placed them at the kitchen table and then opened one of the bottles to ease his thirst while sitting down at the kitchen table to enjoy his drink, which gave him new energy. "I'm lucky this old bottles are sealed, so I now have a fresh stock of drinks. Yeah, now I have only to find food because I feel I haven't much energy left and I need my calories to reload myself. It's all a matter of survival. Till now I'm lucky. I hope I can find food and that my luck continues and no incidents will happen so this nightmare can be forgotten soon," he said to himself while taking a final sip of the bottle he had opened to empty the bottle, and then he threw the empty bottle away towards a corner of the kitchen. "What a fucking place," he said while standing up to search further for foods he maybe can eat to ease his hunger. After a careful, fast and noisy search for food where more items were thrown at the floor, the man cursed the fact that no food was found in the remaining kitchen closets. Then he went to a big refrigerator, opened the big door and noticed black and smelly with fungi covered spaces, after which the man slammed the door to shut it down this way after he had seen the rotten content of the refrigerator. In his anger he gave a hard kick with his left foot against the door of the refrigerator to ventilate his frustrations of him not finding food to ease his hunger. "Fuck man," he shouted while still being frustrated. Near the refrigerator the man found a backpack. He picked it up in order to fill it with some of the water bottles, remaining towels and the vinegar bottle, after which he fixated the backpack at his back. He took his self-made kitchen chair leg torch and opened the door next to the kitchen, which was an extend of the kitchen at the opposite side of the kitchen windows while being the entrance to the living room. At his right against the wall between the kitchen door and the hall door was a big empty but dust-covered oak food table located with 4 dusty matching oak chairs around it. The light of the flaming self-made torch showed a complete living room interior covered with dust, cobwebs and filth next to decaying dirty long living room related window curtains. The living room appeared to be a nice living room with a wooden floor with big dark special living room floor mats at it, which all was covered with dust and dirt. The walls were white and dirty while some small paintings were located at the wall showing landscapes and farms. At the center of the ceiling was a big lamp with several light points located, which was covered by cobwebs and dust. A closer investigation by the man showed food plates with black hardened non-recognizable substances at it and dusty cups at a small dust-covered table in front of a big dark leather dusty sofa next to a dust-covered television at a small television table which also contained a DVD player and a video recorder, which all was covered with dust. Near the television table was a dust-covered stereo tower with radio tuner, amplifier, cassette recorder, record player and CD player located, which stood at a small oak drawer closet nearby a big mechanic clock which was covered with dust and cobwebs and located against the wall. 2 big loudspeakers related to the stereo tower were located at each side of the living room. This scenery was an indication for the man that the residents of the house must had abandoned the house in a hurry because they had left their food at the table while apparently watching television. His attention was drawn to an armchair at the other side of the living room where he saw something big covered by cobwebs sitting at the chair. The man came closer and with a shock he recognized that what he saw was a female partially decomposed skeleton corpse with clearly noticed heavily smelling rotting flesh parts. He easily could state that the gender of the advanced decayed skeleton corpse was female because of a partly decayed red dress and the female shoes, which implied the woman died in that armchair a sudden death, what he concluded because she was still sitting in the armchair and he could not find marks or signs that showed she was victim of a crime. What the hell happened here? The man whispered while staring at the dead woman's physical remains. Then he noticed movement at the partially decomposed face of the woman. Curious to investigate the case more careful, the man stepped closer to the decomposing flesh-rotting woman, which gave him extreme rotting corpse flesh smell sensations, which extreme odor was freely entering his nostrils, and simultaneously at the same moment the man clearly noticed a few crawling big white maggots crawling out of the woman's decayed mouth and out of an eye socket where once an eyeball was located. Instantly the man felt heavy stomach reactions he could not get under control or to stop, so he started to vomit spontaneously at the spot where he stood while half bent towards the female partial defleshed and by maggots eaten corpse. As a result of the posture of the man at moment, the man started to vomit a substantial amount of his fresh produced warm vomit. Some of the vomit splashed at the remains of the decomposing woman who sits the quiet in the armchair since moment she died there. Her sudden unknown caused death while getting a big part of the pre-chewed fresh vomit load all over her physical remains, what gave her rotting decomposing body a new extra scent. The smell of vomited pre-chewed food particles interacting with rotting death corpse flesh of the female advanced stage decomposing body became strong and almost unbearable, so the man withdrew and he let the corpse of the decaying rotting woman untouched in her deathbed-like armchair, which was clearly her final resting place for the moment. But before he definitely left her, he knelt in front of her and prayed for her soul. Our Father which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done in earth as it is in heaven. Please Lord have mercy for the soul of this woman and guide this poor woman who died here in this house in her armchair during her final journey, if she still wanders in the valley of the death, and protect her and let her be welcome in heaven free of evil, for thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory. Amen. The man concluded, after which he slowly stands up and bowed his head for her, a sign of his respect for her no matter the fact he never knew her. Sorry that I partially vomited over your remains, dear lady. Please forgive me. I could not help it, the man whispered, after which he slowly left her. The images of the crawling big white rotting smelling flesh-eating maggots at the female rotting corpse were still clearly burned at his eyes and inside his brain, including also his mind, as lasting memories of the unpleasant encounter, and as a result of his own curiosity, now he knew for sure he would never forget the dead woman he just left. The man shakes his head in order to try to forget it all, while knowing that would not be the case and it would not happen that fast, so he tries to refine himself by focusing at his core goals in order to survive the day. The man had a bad taste of vomit sensations in his mouth, so he took a bottle of water out of his backpack and washed his mouth by splashing the water inside his mouth. Then he started to gargle and spit all out on the floor nearby the woman. Then he placed back the bottle and the backpack. The man makes a turn and stepped definitively away from the dead woman's corpse and past a big oak living room closet while on his way to the door at his left at the end of the living room. What caused the death of the woman I just saw in advanced decomposing form sitting in the armchair? He thought without getting an answer. He felt relieved he had left the living room with the decomposing woman he just had found, who was there in the stark-smelling but sealed atmosphere of the house for some substantial time, as already was concluded by him. All the man knew based on his first investigation observation was that her death must be sudden and quick given the posture and position she was found in at moment he found her death in her armchair. The total scene related to the woman was morbid and surrealistic in his opinion. The man opened the door and stepped again in the hall entrance. He noticed a stair at his right side which was leading to the upper floor upstairs, and he saw a toilet door next to the stairhouse, so he knew that there was a toilet facility downstairs. For the moment the man neglected the stair and his further investigation of the house because he felt he was extremely hungry and exhausted. The man went to the front door, opened it and stepped outdoors towards the dog he had killed not that long ago earlier this night. The smell of burned rubber in the air was refreshing for him compared to the thick rotten atmosphere and smell inside the house. The flickering light of the flames of the improvised burning torch in his hand made that the with blood spots covered big German Shepherd dog seems to be alive and in a surrealistic status of deep sleep, no matter the blood spurs at the dog's fur and the dog's bowels, which were clearly noticed partially outside of the dog's belly, which altogether gave the whole scenery and optic illusion of a living sleeping dog, but all was no more as an optic illusion caused by the flickering flames of the burning torch. The man planted the torch inside the ground nearby the dog, and then he pulled out the entire bowels out of the dog's belly cut wound and threw it far away. Next he took his buck knife out of the knife holder at the side of his belt and got the blade out. It was the same knife as he had used in order to kill the dog during their fight of life and death. "Yeah, my friend, now you have to do me another favor to accommodate my needs and hunger," the man said to the dog with a smile. He then took his knife and started slowly to cut off the dog's head, which he also twisted in order to turn it off the corpse. At the moment he noticed the head was still attached via some of its neck bony parts, and when done cutting off and separating of the dog's head from the dog carcass, the man took the separated dog head in one of his hands while holding the blood-dripping dog head in front of him. He then smiled at the blood-dripping dog head by looking it straight in the eyes. "You are a good and brave dog, my friend, no matter the fact you wanted to kill me," he said. While moments later he threw the dog's head away from him at the ground in the direction of the earlier ditched bowels. As next step in line he started his next move by skinning of the beheaded dog's remains as careful as possible, so the dog's entire skin was with surgical precision removed from the dog's fleshy carcass. When finished skinning the dog carcass from the dog skin, the man threw the skin in the direction of the dog head. "Here you have your skin back, my hairy friend," he said with a laughter. At the moment he threw the dog skin towards the dog head, after which he looked with a smile to the skinned carcass of the dog. The flames of the burning torch and the orange-reddish glow of the environment gave the whole bloody scenery the illusion of an evil butchering practice, with the man in the center as an evil butcher, metaphorically spoken. After the dog's beheading and skinning action, the man wiped his sweaty head after placed back in the knife holder his precious buck knife. All the time the man was humming several songs while feeling in a good mood no matter his physical pains and tiredness, because he knew he finally could eat when ready, so he could ease his hunger and nurse his body with needed proteins by then. The man continued humming songs while being busy preparing of the dog meat. He then took a towel from his backpack and spread it in front of him, after which he took one of his big meat and bone cutting knives from his other side and started to cut off the back legs of the dog, followed by the final cut off of the bone flesh part of each thigh, after which he placed both cut thighs like giant chicken legs or turkey legs at the spread towel while throwing away the lower back legs of the dog. The man smiled and cut totally open the chest of the dog carcass by also cutting the ribs. Then he took out the dog's liver and heart, which he also placed at the towel while throwing out all other organs of the dog. Finally the man cut off the entire back part of the dog, including his tail, anus, penis and balls, and threw it away, followed by the bony front legs. Now the man had a clear prepared fleshy carcass, of which final results he was very pleased. He didn't pay any attention at the dog remains he had thrown away at some distance from him, and he was not planning to clean the bloody scene around him. The man looked at the results of his butcher activities he'd just finished while watching at the prepared carcass, the thigh leg parts, the liver and the heart, and was pleased while placing back at his side his meat knife. Now the man was searching for a wind-covered spot and found one, after which he stepped inside the house to enter the kitchen and then to return back to the wind-free spot with 2 kitchen chairs. The man broke down with hard downwards directed noisy kicks both of the chairs he had taken with him, so he had big pieces of wooden chair remains which he all threw at a pile at the wind-covered spot, after which he picked up the burning torch in order to set the pile of wooden kitchen chair parts in fire, except for one kitchen chair leg, because he wanted to use that chair part as a spare torch in case the old torch would burn up, so he separated it from the pile to save it while the first flames became active by burning the wood parts of the pile to feed itself. The man smiled at the moment the pile started to burn. Then he carefully planted the torch in the ground while walking to the prepared dog meat parts and taking both of his long meat knives, which he stabbed through each prepared dog thigh leg, after which he returned to the fire in order to place the knives with the dog meat at the fire, so the fire started to roast the dog thigh legs. He then picked up the prepared dog carcass and carefully placed it at the fire to roast it at the same time together with the dog thighs. The man was happy to smell the scent of roasting meat. Again he went into the kitchen and took out a big cooking pan he had seen earlier in the kitchen while walking back to the fire. The man picked up the blood-dripping dog heart from the towel and started to cut it into pieces while blood flew out of the cut heart parts to empty the heart. Then he took the dog liver and started to cut the dog liver, and at the moment he was ready cutting the organs, he placed the cut pieces of the dog's heart and liver with a big smile in the big cooking pan and added water from one of the water bottles he had in his backpack with loud splashing sounds inside the big cooking pan with the just cut dog organ pieces. The man smiled while still humming songs. He took the cooking pan and placed it at the fire while taking care of all the meat parts at the fire so it didn't burn. "Yeah, when ready this meat will ease my hunger and nurse my body because I need the proteins and my body needs to process it so it gives me new energy," the man said to himself while staring at the flames of the fire pile. The man was not worried about the fire pile that burned at the wind-covered corner in front of the house and of possible people disturbing him during his meat roasting and cooking event, because his logic told him the village must probably be abandoned except for the big building complex with the light point he still wanted to visit because the light inside that building was still attracting him. The man wondered what happened in this village while thinking for a brief moment of the decaying corpse of the woman he had found in the living room of the house. Can it be that this town or a part of it had faced a deadly disaster? Maybe toxic gas clouds? Nerve gas? A neutron bomb that kills people and left buildings intact? Cosmic radiation? Or is the case related to this house an isolated single case and has the woman died a natural death like a heart attack or a brain stroke? Where are the citizens of this small town? The man asked himself. I will investigate the house more careful if I have eaten, maybe I get some answers before I go to the big building with the light. The man continued his monologue with himself. He stared to the flames while enjoying the smell of roasted meat and watching the dog cut heart and liver parts in the cooking pan. I have no need to rush, first things first. At first I need to eat and then I must rest so I can reload myself, he decided while wiping his sweaty forehead with the sleeve of his jacket. The man was excited about the smell of meat, but he felt also very tired and fought against upcoming sleep sensations. While staring at the flames of the fire pile that seemed to bring the man into a hypnotic trance, the man's mind started to live a life of its own and got producing unknown projections of images he could not place, and then suddenly he saw again an older woman materializing. Her image and physical appearance became much stronger as before while she walked towards him. Then the clearly materialized tall and slim middle-aged graying brunette woman with shoulder-sized hair and glasses stood still nearby at short distance in front of him while she smiled and waved at him. She looked extremely real to him and was close to him next to the fire pile at close range. He shivers and had the feeling of a déjà vu effect. He could clearly see her dark eyes watching him straight into his eyes. His eyes became moist and tears came up. He had no control over his tears and suddenly felt pain in his heart. For a moment the man was totally overwhelmed by emotions of deep love and deep loss while not knowing why he felt these emotions and the deep emotional pain while the tears kept running out of his eyes. The woman then blew him a kiss and while smiling and waving at him she said something to the man, but he could not hear her. All he saw was that her lips were moving while she spoke, but the voice of the woman was soundless so he could not hear what she had to say to him. Then she smiled again, and as suddenly as she was appeared to him, as suddenly her image slowly fainted and disappeared while the man sunk down. He was still crying. For a long moment the man felt empty and exhausted. What is happening to me? Am I becoming insane? Why this terrible deep pain? The man said to himself while still in agony and wiping his eyes. The lovely lady I saw must be close to me and mean a lot to me, because why else would I feel this deep emotional pain? Why can't I remember anything? He said, clearly depressed while cursing the fact that his brain doesn't cooperate to reveal facts from his personal memories. The man stared at the ground and then at the flames of the fire pile and the place where moments ago he had witnessed the graying brunette woman who had affected him emotionally this deep and who for some moments during her appearance had seemed to be real and alive to him. The smell of dog meat that started to burn made that the man came out of his inner thoughts and trance. He rushed to the dog meat pieces at the fire pile, and as fast as he could he took out all dog meat he was roasting, including also the big cooking pan with the dog heart and liver pieces. The big cooking pan he took with caution from the fire pile in order to place it next to the towel he had prepared earlier, while he placed the roasted meat parts directly at the towel. He was relieved to notice that the dog meat wasn't burned too deep. The man took the big meat knives out of the dog thighs and placed the dog thighs then back at the towel, after which he put one big meat knife back at his side while he used the other big meat knife to cut off burned dog meat pieces from the roasted carcass to throw it away. Next he took the dog liver and heart pieces out of the big cooking pan and placed it all next to the roasted dog thighs at the towel, after which he closed the towel and placed it with the enclosed thigh, liver and heart parts inside his backpack. This will be my meat stock next to my water supplies in the bottles, so I have spare food and water in case of hunger and thirst. I want to be prepared in case all went wrong and I maybe face a worst case scenario and being hungry and thirsty, he said to himself in silence while talking to himself. The man sat down at the ground next to the roasted dog carcass. Then he took his big meat knife and started to cut off pieces of meat from the roasted carcass and started to eat the fleshy meat parts while throwing away the bony parts. Slowly the hungry man felt his energy coming back because his physical body was slowly engaged in a restoring and recovery process no matter his feelings of tiredness. He clearly enjoyed it, eating the in his eyes tasty roasted dog meat parts while easing his hunger sensations. Under normal circumstances the man would never eat dog meat because he liked dogs and considered himself always a dog friend, but hunger and the absence of food made he had to eat dog meat because it was the only fresh food available, no matter the fact it was dog meat he had to eat. The man did not wanted to waste still fresh and available meat no matter the fact it was dog meat. All was a matter of survival and to nurse his body by providing it the desired food. The man hated it to waste precious available food sources. The man was normally a true dog friend. The fact that the dog wanted to kill him earlier at moment the dog attacked him made he had no other option as to kill the dog, no matter the fact he adored dogs, because this was a clear case of survival of the fittest and thus a case of life and death, and now the killed dog was his source of food in the food chain while available for the man to eat as second part of survival. While eating the dog meat the man had no specific thoughts about the dog he was eating. He was only busy satisfying his needs to ease his hunger and to accommodate his body with fast to digest proteins and to reload it this way so he would feel more energetic and strong and to survive instead of dying of hunger and thirst and his physical wounds in case he would had not found food and water to accommodate his hunger and thirst sensations in positive sense and to be skilled enough to treat his wounds at emergency level of care. The man did burp out loud to release digestion-related gas via his mouth to relieve his stomach, and then he cut off another part of the roasted dog carcass in order to eat the meat from the bones instantly. It feels good to eat again. The meat tastes good and I feel I get more energy, he said while chewing a bite of the meat he was busy to process in his mouth before swallowing it. The man didn't mind the dog meat he was eating was not prepared with herbs, salt and pepper to spice it up and to increase taste, because all that counted for him was to ease his hunger and to reload his energy level, and he was happy he had generated food by processing of the by him personally prepared dog's meat, so the dog he had killed had an important function for him in order to act as a source of food by delivering easy to digest animal protein to accommodate his needs for food consumption, so the dog cadaver was not wasted. The prepared processed dog meat supplements of the man were important food supplies which he had stored in his backpack for his future food needs, while the meat which he at this moment in time eats is directly feeding his physical body via this meat-eating festivity he clearly enjoyed. The man continued eating the dog meat after he had cut out the next piece out of the roasted dog carcass. "Wow man, this is great food," he said, while throwing away bone pieces that was stripped from its roasted dog meat. The man enjoyed the flames while warming himself by the slowly declining fire while he is taking some more dog meat parts to eat from the dog roasted carcass. The man was satisfied he could fill his stomach, and after he had eaten enough meat he was staring at the last flames of the pile that was almost burned up. He was satisfied that the fire pile had fulfilled its duty by roasting and cooking of the dog meat parts and giving him some warmth before the wood almost was burned, and now he saw the last flames slowly consuming the last wood remains. One broken kitchen chair leg part, which the man had spared earlier from the fire pile, was now picked up by the man, and after he took it he stepped slowly to the last flames of the fire pile in order to set its top in fire, after which he picked up the old torch he had used earlier as light source, to throw the now for a big part burned torch at the fire pile in order to let it burn totally till the flames would extinct, after burning all last wood remains of the old torch and the last remains of the fire pile. The man felt satisfied, and while the last flames were consuming the last unburned wood pieces of the fire pile, the man picked up his backpack after placing inside the backpack all he needed to take with him, and after drinking some water to ease his thirst now he had eaten. He cleaned his big meat knife and took it with him together with the new burning torch that acted as his flaming light source. The man was pleased and did yawn out loud because he felt his body was very tired. He then shook his head as if that was enough to make him feel less tired, which was clearly not the case, but it gave his mind a little boost, so he stayed focused at his mission to further investigate the house for as far as possible and to take some calculated rest while safe in the house, and to accommodate his physical body to ease his tiredness in case it would be possible to do so if there is an opportunity for him to rest for a while in order to get reloaded as part of his physical recovery and renewed vitality. His right leg was still hurting him, so he stepped slowly while still stumbling back towards the front door of the house, while neglecting his internal impulses and urges that were pushing him to make a turn and to go back to the sidewalk to continue his walk to the big building with the light. Internal voices said to the man, "Go to the light, go to the light. It's safe to go to the light. You can find shelter in the big building, so go to the light." "No. I must find answers so I maybe understand what happened here, and I need a secured place to rest," the man said out loud to try to overrule the inner mind voices he clearly hears, and while neglecting the now slowly silencing voices. "Shit, man, I must be truly tired that I hear voices inside my head I normally don't hear, or maybe I become slowly insane. I know I need to rest," the man mumbles while slowly regaining control of his inner thoughts. It was clearly not easy for the man to neglect his urges to continue his mission to the light, but he was determined of doing so because he felt a stronger drive and motivation to go to the house. "What the fuck is happening to me?" he asked himself, while not being able to find an easy answer except for him acknowledging of the fact that his body and mind are tired and need rest to recover, and that his mind is tricking him because of tiredness. "Yes, the fact that I am tired and in pain must make my mind is playing tricks with me," he said to himself with a soft smile because of this clear and logical explanation that satisfied him for the moment. While standing at the door entrance of the house, the man took a last deep breath of the outdoors air that smelled of burnt rubber, which was now slightly mixed with a light smell of the burned kitchen chairs related wood parts from the nearby extincting slowly dying flames of the fire pile he had made earlier to roast and cook the prepared useful dog remains. The man wiped his sweaty head before again entering the house and its thick atmosphere and scent of rotting flesh and decaying materials and products. He opened the front door and stepped inside the house-related entrance hall, after which he took a minute of time to acclimatize in order to get used to the house-related air and atmosphere while standing against the wall and breathing slow and deep after closing of the front door. All the time the man held the self-made burning torch in his right hand so he could see the environment around him in the flickering light of the flames of the torch. The man stepped straight forwards till he saw the stairs at his left hand. It was an old closed stairs with a long side balk that apparently had as function to act as a side grip which one could hold in case of need to prevent falling or in case one has more difficulty climbing. It was an old wooden stairs which was painted broken white, and each part of the stairs was fixated with a customized black rubber mat to prevent slipping. The stairs was positioned in a comfortable angle and in a straight line without curves, so it was not difficult to climb. The black matte parts of the stairs were covered with dust, so the man noticed that it must be a long time ago that the stairs was used, because no single footprints were noticed by the man in the flickering light of his torch lamp. The man placed his left hand at the sidewalk at the moment he started to climb the stairs in order to go upstairs to the upper floor. Each step that the man went forwards at the stairs created a cracking sound, which the man reminded of the fact that the stairs was old, but all seemed further solid, so the climb could be completed without difficulty. At the moment the man was at the upper floor, he let go the sidewalk and he noticed 4 closed wooden doors. He assumed it must probably be bedrooms and the bathroom. The upper floor had enough walking space, and at the side of the stairs side at the upper floor was a stairs-related fence to prevent one should fall in the stairs hole in case one would walk in the dark at the upper floor. The stairs fence was painted in a broken white color, which was the same color as that the stairs was painted. The walls at the upper floor were white, and the man noticed some medium-sized paintings between the wall side and 2 of the doors. He noticed a vacuum cleaner, a small waste container and some old clothes which were hanging over the stairs fence, while all was covered by dust just like the upper floor, and there were lots of cobwebs. All observations till now made that the man concluded that the house residents lived in the house till the moment of disaster that hit this house and probably the whole town. In silence he thought of the advanced decomposing corpse of the woman he had found in the armchair downstairs in the living room. The man opened the first door at his left. The door was not closed. The smell sensations of rotting substances were strong at the moment the man stepped inside the room. He assumed this must be the master bedroom. He noticed a king-size 2-person's bed, decaying window curtains, cobwebs, dust, a big clothes closet with a tall mirror in the middle next to 2 doors, and a medium-sized table with a computer system of a desktop computer, a monitor, a keyboard, a mouse and a printer on top of the table next to a picture and a small amount of books, while 2 chairs were located in front of the table. The walls were all white. A big painting of a mountain landscape was hanging at the wall, and next to the bed was a small table with a book and a small bedroom lamp on top of it as noticed by the man, while at the ceiling a big lamp was hanging covered with cobwebs. The man walked to the center of the room and noticed 2 advanced decaying corpses at the bed. The corpses were partially covered with dirty decaying blankets, while the heads were laying at big but dirty pillows with holes in it. The man stepped closer, and because of the flaming torch in his right hand he clearly recognized the decomposing corpses of a man and a woman who were just like the woman downstairs, partially defleshed skeletons while still covered with remains of rotting smelly flesh that was eaten by bacteria and maggots. Some white big maggots were clearly noticed by the man while crawling inside and on top of the smelling remains of the decomposing dead man and dead woman. The flickering light of the flaming torch gave all a macabre lively scenery looks, where an optional illusion was generated as if the maggots and the decomposing dead people at the bed played a horrible play together, in which case the dead people invited and allowed the big white maggots to eat their rotting smelly flesh parts. The man's eyes were for a moment fixated at a maggot who was slowly coming out of the chest of the woman. It was an event which fascinated him because the maggot was clearly eating and drilling its way through the rotting flesh substances. The man was not shocked anymore because of the earlier that night found decomposing rotting woman he had found in the armchair downstairs. He held his left hand in front of his mouth and nose because of the strong rotting smell of decaying flesh, while his right hand still holds the flaming torch. He looked more closer around himself, and then he stepped closer to an earlier noticed picture which he picked up to watch it more closer. The picture showed a smiling middle-aged couple. A bald Caucasian man and a short-haired dark with great hints light ebony woman with South American looks. The man thought the woman could maybe originate from Brazil or one of the surrounding nations, and he estimated that the couple at the picture were far in their 50s. He put back the picture at the medium-sized table next to the computer. He immediately assumed that the picture he had seen was related to the dead man and dead woman at the 2-person's bed, and that the dead man and dead woman were a married couple. He also assumed that the dead woman he found earlier downstairs was probably the daughter of these dead people who laid at the bed. What a terrible tragedy must have taken place here in this house a long time ago, the man said with a whispering voice. This couple here in front of me must have died at the same time while sleeping, and at the same time their daughter died while she was downstairs, maybe watching late evening television. Something must have happened causing the simultaneously death of these three people. Deadly radiation, deadly gas? Who knows? The man thought while looking for a last time at the decomposing smelling remains of the dead couple. The man's mind was in an analytical mode while thinking fast and logical, based at real-time noticed facts of scenery, presentations and logical assumptions. So the man excluded a family drama of murder and suicide because he had not noticed a weapon or something else that was deadly earlier near the dead woman downstairs or near the couple here upstairs, and he also found no evidence to back up a third human party was involved in these mysterious death cases causing a death spree. The man's attention was now focused at the clothes closet in order to find out if something useful for him could be found inside the closet. So he went to the big clothes closet and he opened its left door, which he closed fast because of noticed female clothes which were of no use for him, and then he opened the right door which showed him male clothes. The man felt a bit excited and acted fast by first getting both hands free after he fixated the torch at a chair. He did fixate the burning torch after he took one of the medium-sized table chairs and placing the torch at the chair with the burning side sticking out while the non-burning side was held by a few books the man had also taken from the medium-sized table next to the computer in order to hold and fixate the burning self-made torch after he had placed the books at the non-burning part of the torch. After a quick search inside the closet, the man found relatively clean underwear which appeared to be his size, and he also took a black shirt out of the male part of the closet and noticed with a happy smile that the shirt had the same size as he had. He took off his backpack and started to strip himself totally naked by throwing at the ground his old partially shredded, dirty and smelling gory clothes. At first he took out his jacket and the blood-covered shredded remains of his own shirt, followed by his with blood-covered shoes, jeans and his underwear. At the second step, after being naked, he put on the found underwear and he replaced the old shirt with the new black shirt while laughing loud for a brief moment. At the moment he noticed the new black shirt he took out of the closet did fit perfectly. Now the man was searching for trousers inside the closet and he was happy he found a black one. He holds the black trousers in front of him and noticed that the trousers was of the right length but a bit wider as his waist, but he didn't mind that the trousers was a bit wider. At the same moment he was for a brief moment watching at his own filthy with blood-covered partly shredded jeans which was laying at the master bedroom floor, which made he was happy he had found a new one which he now was holding in his hands. The man did bend and placed the belt with the buck knife-filled buck knife holder he quickly had removed from the old jeans and the black trousers and was happy that the belt did fit. The man put on the black trousers and closed the belt which he adjusted at his size so the wider trousers would fit. "Yeah man, this black trousers fits perfectly," he said with a big smile while being happy he had found a complete new set of clothes which were relatively clean given the circumstances, and that all did much till now. The man also found a medium-sized black jacket that did match him, so he emptied the pockets of his old blood-covered jacket and placed the found content to the pockets of the black jacket. The content of the old jacket included also the internet smartphone of the man, of which he at this moment in time did not pay any attention to except for transferring it to one of the pockets of the black jacket. After the man had relocated all items from the old jacket to the new black jacket, he put the black jacket on. "Wow man, this looks great," he said with a smile while looking in the midsection of the clothes closet located mirror to admire his new outfit. Further investigation of the closet made he also found new socks which he also decided to change, while doing the same related to a by him found clean set of black shoes. The man puts on the socks and the black shoes and made a small walk inside the master bedroom to find out if the shoes were suitable for him, and then he decided to keep them. He had not expected to find a complete matching outfit that suits him, so he was more as pleased he was clothed again by wearing relatively clean clothes and also having nice fitting shoes and the changed fine black jacket. His happiness was of short term because he froze for a moment because of pain impulses from his right leg which him reminded of the situation he was in. The man hoped he could find the family medicine cabinet which maybe would contain anti-inflammatory, pain-killing medical drugs. The man let his old clothes laying at the dirty floor where he had thrown it at the moment he put them off in order to replace it all by the new clothes. He picked up his backpack and the two big meat knives which he all placed where they belonged, and then he took the burning torch, after which he made a turn and slowly went towards the master bedroom door while for a moment stopping in front of the two-person bed with the rotting remains of the dead couple. "Thanks man, your clothes suits me well. May God protect you and your wife and may you both find peace in the hereafter," he briefly said to the death remains of the decomposing man who laid next to his death wife at the big bed which was their resting place. He then wiped his sweaty forehead, after which he bowed his head briefly in the direction of the dead people at the bed in order to show respect for the dead man and dead woman, after which he went to the master bedroom door to step through it and to close the door. No matter the pain impulses inside his body and no matter the fact he had eaten and eased his thirst earlier this night, the man felt tired, and after closing the door of the master bedroom behind him he had a moment of being disorientated before finding himself again. With one hand the man was holding the stairs fence while heavily breathing. He did all to ease his breathing by breathing slow and deep in order to prevent hyperventilation. The man stood there for 2 to 3 minutes while conducting his breathing exercises, then again he wiped his sweat-covered face and was watching at the most distant door near the stair fence which contained a small window above the door. The man suspected that the door with the window above it maybe had to be the bathroom door. He looked at the floor and noticed clearly the footprints at the dust-covered floor everywhere where he had walked till now. While he was watching at his own footprints he suddenly started to laugh out loud. His laugh went on for several minutes before he ended laughing. "Shit man, maybe I'm losing my mind while becoming insane myself. Keep yourself under control man," he said to himself while being angry at himself and taking a deep breath. The man slowly stumbled towards the direction of the suspected bathroom. At the moment the man was in front of the door, he opened the door and let his burning torch shine its flickering light inside the space of the room to find out what kind of room this room exactly was. The man was happy to notice that the room indeed was the bathroom of the house, so he stepped inside the found bathroom. The bathroom showed a wash basin with a warm and cold water tap, a shower, a sit bath, a small washing machine and a toilet. The bathroom floor and walls were all finalized with marble stones and the entire bathroom was waterproof. There were cobwebs noticed and dust, but no matter the presence of dust and cobwebs, the bathroom seemed in a relatively good condition. Above the wash basin was a big mirror located, and next to that mirror was a small medicine cabinet noticed which was attached to the wall. At the wash basin was noticed a cup with 3 toothbrushes with different colors, 3 different brand toothpaste tubes, soap remains and shampoo. The 3 toothbrushes and toothpaste tubes confirmed the man's earlier conclusion that this house had 3 residents, which were the dead woman downstairs and the dead couple upstairs, which he all found earlier this night at the locations where they died, while he also assumed that the downstairs located dead woman was the daughter of the dead couple upstairs. The man stepped towards the medicine cabinet and opened both of its mirror doors. The medicine cabinet was filled with non-steroidal anti-inflammatory drugs like ibuprofen and other painkillers like paracetamol, articles for cuts and wounds like bandages, gauze, medical tape, antiseptic products like aloe vera, iodine, tools like a blood pressure device and a thermometer, and so on. The man was pleased and placed the burning torch at the toilet with the flaming part sticking out while the torch lay flat at the closed toilet seat. Then he took a strip of ibuprofen, took out 2 tablets to ease his pain sensations, and stepped to the wash basin to open the cold water tap. Again, like earlier in the kitchen, when he opened the water tap of the sink, he did hear rumbling sounds of water pipelines followed by spurting splashes of a watery, smelly black-like substance that came out of the water tap. The man immediately closed the water tap, after which the rumbling sound slowly stopped and the water tap didn't produce any watery black-like smelly substances. Fuck man, I could knows this would happen like it did in the kitchen earlier this night. What a fucking mess, the man said, while being angry and staring at the stinky watery black drab and the drab splashes inside the wash basin. He then got his backpack and took out one of his water bottles and put the anti-painkillers in his mouth and swallowed it with water. He did drink from the water bottle in order to put back the water bottle at moment when he was finished. The man took most of the content of the medicine cabinet and put it in his backpack, so in case of need he would have sound products he could use at level of emergency medical care. Now the man started to strip himself naked again, and he removed his alternative bandages, and again he cleaned the wounds after inspecting it, but this time he used iodine to clean the wounds and he used gauze and the medical tape to seal his wounds, after which he put his clothes on again. He was pleased with the results at moment he was dressed. The man felt an urge to pee because his bladder felt loaded and full, so he was happy he saw the toilet because he could not hold his urine much longer. Quickly he took the burning torch from the closed toilet seat and relocated the burning flaming torch to the wash basin and placed it there, after which he opened the closed toilet seat and his zipper, after which he took out of his underpants his penis, which he held in his right hand. At moment he started to pee freely inside the toilet pot. The man felt relieved at moment the urine started to empty his filled bladder and started whistling a song while squeezing the last drops of urine out of his penis. At moment he was finished peeing, and then to put back his penis into his underpants and to zip up the zipper of his trousers. The man pushed at the flushing button of the toilet water container reservoir in order to let the water flush and clean the toilet pot, but nothing happened because the water in the container reservoir was dried up under influence of time. At moment the residents of the house died and nobody used the toilet anymore. The man did realize that time and non-usage of the toilet over an extended period of time had dried out the reservoir, and a bit irritated he slammed the toilet seat back so the loud sound of the toilet seat hitting the toilet pot echoed for a brief moment of time inside the bathroom. Under the wash basin the man found a towel which he used to rub his hands. Then he placed the towel back, took his backpack and his burning torch and went to the bathroom door in order to open it and to step outside the bathroom. The man closed the door and was happy he had taken care of his wounds and that he had found painkillers to relieve his physical pain, but above all he was happy he had urinated because of the urgency related to his bladder. The man took a deep breath, after which he started to cough violently for a short period of time because of dust particles affecting his respiratory system, and at moment the coughing eased down he began several times to spit out slime at the floor. He took some time to acclimatize and to regain control of himself. Shit man, what a fucking place is it here? No matter the fact this fucking cough attack cleared my throat, I'm not pleased with it because the pain in my chest was heavy for a moment, he mumbled while holding a part of the stairs fence with his left hand while also all the time holding the torch in his right hand. Again the man spit slime at the floor and he saw the impact at the dust. At moment the slime did hit the floor and particles of dust were pushed away because of the slime impact force at the floor. The man closed his right nostril with his left hand and blew it out so nose slime came out with hard force while freeing his left nostril and hitting the floor, after which he closed his left nostril to blow out the slime out of his right nostril, which also hit the floor hard. Now the man was happy he could again freely breathe through his nose no matter the thick atmosphere and air of rotting flesh and smelly other decaying products and substances. For a brief moment the man felt dizzy, but he recovered fast. Shit man, I'm still tired. I don't know how long I can continue before I collapse, he said softly while looking at the first door at his right near the bathroom door. The man closed his eyes while at that moment he again heard voices. Go to the light, go to the light. Find peace, find me. Go to the light. What the fuck happens? I am becoming insane, the man thought instantly. At that moment the image of the middle-aged graying woman appeared again in front of him, while he clearly saw her materializing in front of his eyes standing nearby him. He could clearly see she was wearing a dark knee-length skirt, white blouse, a short dark lady jacket next to dark stockings and brown flat suede lady instep shoes. The woman was smiling at him, while he had the feeling she was also observing him and that she knew who he was and where he came from and how he came here in this town. "Who are you? Do you know who I am? Please can you help me?" the man asked, while tears were running spontaneously out of his eyes, which was a reaction he could not control, no matter the fact that he at the same moment was thinking that all is absurd and surrealistic. The woman smiled and then she waved her hand while saying something, but again no sound was heard, like he had experienced earlier that night while outdoors at the moment she appeared near the fire pile. The man's heart bounced hard and he began to sweat, while slowly the image of the graying brunette disappeared, as if she was never been here before except only in his mind. The man felt clearly he knew this graying brunette lady and that she meant a lot for him and that he missed her deeply, but he still could not place facts related to this still unknown woman. The man felt that his eyes were wet again and that he again had been crying, no matter the fact he wasn't conscious of the fact he was crying. He wiped his sweating forehead and face while trying to regain control of himself, after which he cleaned his glasses. The man knew he was exhausted and had to find a place to rest and to recover so his troubled mind would not play tricks with him anymore. The man felt chills all over his body and shivered for some moments, after which the chills disappeared. "Maybe I'm ripe for a mental institution, but I will try to do all to prevent I become insane," the man said to himself while slapping himself hard in his face to remain conscious and in the here and now. "This fucking house of the dead people and this rotten smelly atmosphere is affecting my brain and my mind, while it is playing games with my mind by tricking me into seeing delusional projections and hearing imaginary voices in order to alter my perception and reality focus," the man said to himself after a brief analysis of his personal situation at present time and place. Fact that he was still be able of making rational analysis based on logic and him still having a sound reality sense and being capable to evaluate and to state conclusions based on facts made him finally conclude he was not insane and he had to deal with his present situation by finding a way out of this madness, this environmental circus of death and insanity, in order to flee from this surrealistic place and time he clearly felt he did not belong to. But first of all he had to find a place so he could rest a bit before continuing his quest to walk to the big corner building at the end of Main Street, because he felt again a growing obsession to go to that building in order to find the light. The man was standing in front of the first door at his right near the bathroom and noticed the door was just like the master bedroom, not locked. He opened the door and let his flaming burning torch shine inside the just opened room to find out what kind of room this room would be and if there was something inside the room he could use. The room was smelly just like the odor in the rest of the house. It was a small room with a wall which was partially reserved for bookshelves which were filled with books, DVDs and videotapes. There was a small table with a bureau lamp, a phone, a computer, a keyboard, a monitor, a printer, a mouse and one wheeled office chair. On the other side of the room there was a big tall cage which was a bird cage. The man stepped inside the room he qualified as the study room or home office of the house. The room was just like the other rooms and spaces of the house, dirty, dusty and with cobwebs. The walls were white and above the computer table there was a big world map poster located and a big analog quartz clock which stood still at 4:12 because there was no battery power to support the clock since a long time. The big bird cage acted as a birdhouse voliere for a group of birds as noticed by the man. He stepped towards the big birdcage and let his flaming torch shine a bit closer in the direction of the birdcage. Then he noticed 6 totally decomposed birds inside the cage, which was no surprise for him because he already suspected to see decayed birds. The curtains near the windows were in a bad condition, just like the earlier witnessed curtains he saw in the rest of the house. At the ceiling 4 big grey spotlights were noticed by the man. All was covered with cobwebs and dust. Under the windows was a low table which contained a medium-sized complete aquarium for small fishes, but the man saw that there was no water inside the aquarium, so the aquarium was dry and filled with little stones, small pieces of rock and special sand. The aquarium had a dust-covered hood with light and heating elements which all didn't work. The fact of heating elements made that the man suspected that the aquarium was related to tropical fishes. The study room seems suitable as a nice study or home office room with a nice environment of fishes and birds at its prime time days. Too bad that this house faced a mysterious disaster that killed the residents and these animals, the man thought. He took a deep breath and positioned his left hand at the computer table because he felt dizzy and the room began a bit spinning around him. Shit man, I feel fucking tired and dizzy. I'm in a fucking bad condition right now. I hope I won't collapse or faint, he mumbles, while he also sensed tingling sensations in his face and arms, after which he instinctively took the wheeled off his chair and sat down at the chair while conducting deep and slow breathing exercises, and simultaneously he pushed the burning torch between the small rods of a center part of the big bird cage which was at the opposite wall nearby at arm length from where the man was sitting on the wheeled off his chair. The man did so in order to clamp and fixate the burning torch so it won't fall out at the floor, because he knew he had to have his hands free in case he would collapse or faint during the attack of dizziness and spinning sensations, and that the burning torch had to be at a secured place because he knew if he would collapse and the torch would hit the floor carpet then all would catch fire, so he would burn alive at moment the flames would reach him. All actions were completed while the man acted instinctively and on autopilot mode related to himself and from out of his willpower to survive and minimize dangerous situations. The man was clearly battling against himself in order to stay alert and conscious while knowing he needed to rest as soon as possible because he felt time was slowly running out and his exhausted body needed rest to recover. Fuck man, I can't think straight at this moment. I feel as if my mind becomes clouded and a bit blur. I hate it, the man whispers while wiping his forehead and spitting slime at the floor of the room. Slowly the dizzy and spinning sensations eased down and the tingling sensations also declined to zero while the man continued his breathing exercises. Thank God, my body is restoring but my mind feels still clouded and not sharp, mumbles the man while being glad he did not faint and that he apparently did slide to a slowly normalizing situation given the existing circumstances of his physical and mental situation and the environment he was in. Suddenly the man was aware of the phone next to him and instinctively he picked up the phone which was next to the computer system at the table in front of him. Maybe I can make contact with the outside world, he thought while listening if the phone was still operational and working, because he knew that the phone net was connected to a house-independent electricity network and that the house was cut off from electricity, so he thought that the external network related to the phone maybe would be operational. The line appeared dead, only silence was heard by the man. Angry he slams the telephone receiver back at the telephone and then he remembers his mobile smartphone which he had transferred from his old jacket to this new black jacket not that long ago while in the master bedroom. Quickly he feels in the pocket of his new black jacket and takes out his smartphone while noticing the battery of his smartphone was not dead yet. But he found out fast he had no connection with the network, so no internet or phone connections were available at his smartphone, and strangely enough for him all data at the phone was gone and wiped out while he did not know how and when all data got lost. The man was a bit obsessed related to the smartphone because now the man had his smartphone in his hands. He hoped that the phone contained stored data related to general data and to who or what he was and which persons were connected to him. The man was desperately seeking for hints at the smartphone while his fingers pressed several buttons and logos at the touch screen in hope to get the desired information he was extremely longing for, but no data was present to give him any hints and the memory banks were empty. While still in anger the man put back in his pocket his smartphone. Nothing works in this fucking house and environment, he shouted angry and tried to cool off in order to become calm again while knowing his situation is serious and he has to stay cool in order to survive his present personal situation and circumstances. What the hell can I do in order to get information? The man shouted again while knowing he would not get an answer. A bit depressed, he sat for a minute in silence at the chair while staring at the computer in front of him. No sounds were noticed in the house or outdoors outside the house. We live in a modern and advanced technological time with internet, fast communication lines, chat boxes, video conferences, satellites, rockets, an international space station, space telescopes, robots, drones, nuclear and alternative energy sources and so on, and I can't get a fucking connection with the outside world. It's fucking frustrating. In what kind of fucking world do we live in where I can't communicate or get any information and which is surrounded by death and destruction? This fucking house is a house of the death with dead people and dead devices that don't work because of no electric power. Yeah, I have the feeling being surrounded by the death while being a player in a macabre game of survival within the values of life and death, the man thought while still frustrated but slowly regaining control over his mind and thoughts no matter the fact he still felt he was very tired and not really fit. The man closed his tired, feeling slightly reddish eyes for a brief moment. Each second seemed to have a time duration of minutes to hours for the man. The man realized himself that he must not give up, otherwise he would not survive and die, and he knew life is precious and his willpower is still strong enough to not give up and to fight till the end in order to survive at all costs. Tired but conscious and feeling capable to stand up, the man slowly stood up from the wheeled office chair, after which he went to the big birdcage to take out the burning torch, which flames brought him more by his senses because at moment he took the torch by pulling it out from its location between the small rods of the midsection of the big birdcage. He hit accidentally the flames, so he slightly burned his hand, which gave him a brief but sharp pain sensation because of fire contacting his skin, which immediately awoke him from out of his mental numbness that partly clouded his mind. The man knew that it was only temporary, that he felt alive and fit, and that tiredness sensations would return fast. Fuck man, I acted stupid and was a bit distracted at moment I took the torch from the birdcage. It is my own stupidity I burn my hand, but lucky me I have the needed first aid to treat my hand, the man said while cursing his own stupid behavior at moment he took the burning torch. He now puts the burning torch at the table with the burning part free in the open space away from the table. Then he opens his backpack, put it at the table, and takes out one painkiller which he swallows together with water from one of the water bottles. As next step he takes the aloe vera in order to treat his hand-related burn wound. Then he takes gauze and tape to seal the painful wound. The man watched his treated hand and was pleased with his actions and the results. Quickly he puts back all used items inside his backpack. Then he picked up his backpack and his burning torch and went straight to the door of the study room, after which he opened the door and left the room. Outside the room the man closed the door and stumbled in the direction of the second door. Go to the light of the building in Main Street. Go to the light, voices hammered in his mind. Fuck off. La, la, la la, the man shouted out loud while singing la, la, la. Then the voices disappeared as abrupt as they manifested itself inside his mind. The man stopped singing and was glad the voices had stopped pushing him. I am afraid that I indeed become insane slowly if I can't get grip at myself. What a fucking nightmare would that be if I become truly insane. Good heavens, I'm a man of logic, so I trust that my logic keeps me sane, the man said to himself while trusting his true self and his instincts. The man knew his body and mind were very exhausted, so his mind and perceptive reality sense could easily be tricked by then. He wiped his sweaty face at moment he was standing in front of the second door, which was near the stairs at the opposite side of the master bedroom which he investigated earlier that night. This must probably be the bedroom of the dead daughter downstairs of the dead couple here in the master bedroom, the man thought while the door opened. He opened the door wide open and let his torch with the flickering flames for a brief moment shine inside the room to find out if his assumption was true or false related to his thoughts that this could be the bedroom of the death decomposing woman downstairs, and to get a quick impression of the room. The smell of the room was less heavy as in the rest of the house, which pleased the man, so he quickly closed the door after stepping inside the room. The man closed the door so the more heavy scent of the rest of the house would not penetrate and mix with the by him sensed smell inside this room. The room was clearly a bedroom containing a small single-person bed covered with dust under the windows of the bedroom. At the ceiling of the bedroom was a double spotlight mounted. The man also noticed items like a big brown but dust-covered stuffed puppet bear which was at the bed and a big photo of a young light-skinned ebony woman and a young Caucasian man in a frame at the wall at his left side. Now he was standing just beyond the door entrance behind the closed door. Yeah, I think I'm right noticing that this room is the bedroom of the young woman I notice at the picture at the wall, he thought without further doubts. The young woman's age he estimated around 22 years old. The young woman at the picture was smiling and has medium long-sized dark hair while wearing a dark gray skirt with a length above the knee, a white blouse and a marine dark blue blazer next to white socks and black shoes. Maybe this young lady was a university student, the man thought. The young man next to the light-skinned ebony woman was a tall Caucasian young man with short dark blonde hair, and he too was smiling while holding an arm around the young woman's upper body with a hand positioned at her shoulder. The young man did wear black pants, a light blouse with no tie, and he had the upper part of his blouse open so a white undershirt was visible, and he did wear dark brown leather shoes. The young man is probably also a student, and it is clear he is the friend of the young lady at the picture. I can clearly notice how close both are related to each other. Yeah, young love, the man thought with a smile. He estimated the age of the young man about the same as the young woman at age 22. The bedroom walls were white and dirty like the walls he had noticed in the entire house. There were cobwebs inside the bedroom and the curtains were slowly decaying. The floor contained a dusty but beige carpet. At the left side from where the man stood was a dust-covered writing bureau with drawers stated. On top of the dusty writing bureau was a laptop computer and a desktop computer configuration complete with keyboard, mouse, printer and monitor noticed by the man next to some books and documents. Next to the writing bureau was a dusty waste bin positioned at the floor. At the right side of the bedroom the man noticed a big closet with a non-mirror door and a mirror door. A long dusty but light-colored night dress was hanging at the non-mirror door of the closet. Next to the big closet the man noticed an easel with a big canvas painting at it and dust-covered brushes in pots next to it at a little table which also contained a dusty plate with dried paint and a dusty collection of oil paint tubes. The young woman has a nice hobby and loves to paint, the man thought, and stepped closer to the painting to get a better impression of the painting at the easel. In the flickering light of the flames of the burning torch the painting gave the optic illusion of being alive, and the tired eyes of the man increased this effect while the man tried to neglect it while he focused himself at the painting. The painting showed a young light-skinned ebony woman with dark hair. The man immediately recognized the fact that this painting must be a self-portrait of the young woman who he had noticed death and in an advanced decomposing stage downstairs because of the female resemblance between the painting and the female at the picture at the wall. The portrait showed the young woman with a black and white cat in her arms and a gray sky with blackbirds and bald trees as background. The man noticed that the painting was not yet finished because the brown dress the woman was wearing at the picture was not yet finalized. The man noticed that the projected female at the painting was not smiling and that her dark brown eyes were with no light. The painting was dusty, but the man clearly could see and recognize the painted image of the young woman's self-portrait projected in the dark environment of an autumn season projection. The man admired the skills of the young woman who painted this self-portrait. This is a beautiful well-painted painting projection. The young lady is talented and can maybe become a true painting artist. I love the painting and the way how light and color choices made by the painting artist are interacting and giving the painting its depth and lively dimensions. I wonder why the artist let herself not smile at the picture and why she projected a desolate autumn environment, the man said with a softened voice while he admired the canvas-painted work and the female painting artist. Go to the light. Go to the light, a pressing voice at energetic level of mind of the man told him. The man focused at the picture in order to neglect the voice he just heard. He felt dizzy again and stepped towards the bed in order to sit down at the bed after first placing the burning flaming torch in a big pot which stood next to the bed. The man took care for the fact that the burning torch could not do harm by starting a fire by fixating of the torch inside the big pot. "Shit man, I really don't feel well. I don't know how much more I can take and how long I can continue and hold on," he said to himself while yawning and then starting to do breathing exercises in order to try to regain control over his exhausted body. Instinctively he wiped his sweaty face clean. The man knew he was battling against himself in order to remain conscious while knowing he had to complete his mission, although he did not know all the ins and outs of his mission and where it will end, but for the moment he battled to remain conscious in an environment he did not want it to be part of and which he wanted to leave as soon as possible at moment his tormented body and mind would allow him to do so, while also being insecure of the fact if he would survive his mission because of his present physical and mental state of condition. He closed his eyes and noticed the silence around him. A silence that was almost qualified as serene in his mind and which he associated with peace and rest. The silence made the man almost forget reality and felt as if he could sink at a bed of feathers to sleep and to enjoy rest and peace at level of body and mind, to ease down and to let all tension flow out of his tormented body and mind. The man clearly enjoyed this moment of experienced inner peace while he kept his eyes closed. His eyelids felt heavy and he slowly felt he was drifting away by almost falling asleep because of his exhausted body and mind and the late hour of the night. Slowly he began to forget his environment around him, but then the man heard a cat meowing. It was a soft but louder wording meow sound. What is this for a weird meowing sound? Is there a cat here in the house which I didn't notice earlier during my investigation and search inside the house? The man thought and wondered while his tired eyelids opened, which was hard for him to do because of his feelings of tiredness. He felt a bit dizzy and annoyed being disturbed from out of his short moment of peace and serenity and tried to adjust himself while slowly regaining his full consciousness. The man now had fully opened his eyes and rubbed his light-burning tired eyes while coming to his senses. He quickly observed his environment in the flickering light of the burning torch which he had fixated in the big pot near the bed. The man again did hear the meowing sound of a cat, but he didn't see any cat around him. "Weird, it is as if there is a cat here in the bedroom but I can't see or find that cat," he said with a whispering voice while slowly feeling himself a bit uncomfortable. "Maybe my mind is again playing tricks with me and maybe I have auditive delusions because of me being tired," he thought, and he spit at the bedroom floor. Then the man saw a cat walking towards him while he did not know where that cat came from. The cat was there and started meowing again. "This is odd, it is as if I know this cat," the man thought while staring at the animal. The cat was a medium-sized tall cat with black and white color marks at its fur. The cat sat down at short distance from where the man sat at the bed. Cat and man were staring at each other while observing each other. The man instinctively felt he adored cats, but he did not know why and what his relation was with cats. He smiled at the cat while noticing the cat started to lick himself, a sign the cat felt at ease and home here in this room. "Yeah, my hairy friend, I wish you could tell me where you came from and where you was hiding before coming to me, but I am happy I have some company right now, so thank you for being here, my friend," the man said to the cat, who continued his licking and self-washing event as if he didn't hear the man. The man smiled at the cat and he felt not alone anymore. He then saw the black and white cat lying down at the floor in order to sleep as if nothing else did matter for the cat. The man opened his backpack and took out one bottle of water, and then he opened the bottle and started to drink because he felt the urge to do so in order to ease his thirst. At the moment the man had satisfied his need for water, he closed the bottle and put it back inside the backpack. He then looked at the spot where the cat went sleeping and noticed suddenly that the cat was disappeared. "Where is the cat I just saw sleeping? I did not notice the cat leaving and this bedroom door is closed, thus where can the cat be?" the man asked himself. Slowly he stood up from the bed and started to seek the missing cat in the entire bedroom, but he could not find a trace of the cat. It was as if the cat was disappeared into thin air. This is truly weird. How can a cat disappear out of a sealed closed small room? The man thought while cursing himself for the fact he had not paid enough attention to the cat and for being disappointed because he felt alone again. Yeah, facts of life. So one wins, so one loses, he thought while taking a deep breath and again sitting down at the bed. The man wanted clearly not waste his time by seeking of the cat and by doing so wasting his own precious energy because he felt very tired and started yawning again because all he was longing for was rest and a short period of sleep so he could restore his body and mind a bit before continuing his walk towards the light at moment he should leave this house. The man was already happy he had eaten and eased his hunger and thirst while also being in the opportunity to take care of his wounds and to dress himself with other clothes no matter the fact that the clothes he was wearing belonged to the death-decomposing man who was laying at the bed in the master bedroom at the opposite side of this bedroom which belonged to his dead daughter he had found downstairs in the armchair. The man wanted to close his eyes again while he at that moment of decision again meowing sounds of the cat heard. What the fuck is happening here? The man thought while slowly getting annoyed and frustrated because he had searched for the cat earlier and had not found the cat no matter the fact he had looked everywhere in this small bedroom. The meow sounds became stronger and started slowly working at the nerves of the man because wherever he looked while sitting at the bed, he noticed nowhere a sign of a cat except for the meow sounds that clearly told him a cat was present at an unnoticed place somewhere in this room because the meowing sounds came clearly here from out of this room and not from an external place outside the room. Maybe I am truly becoming insane and ripe for an institution, but no, I know I am a man of logic. Maybe someone wants to scare me off. I must stay alert and ready to fight if needed. I may not lose my nerves, the man said while taking a big meat knife and placing it at close range in case of need in order to defend himself. Again the man did hear the meowing sound of the black and white cat he noticed earlier in this room, but this time the meowing sounds continued without stopping. The non-stop meowing sounds came now from the direction of the easel with the canvas painting, and at the moment the man was watching in the direction of the painting the meowing sounds eased down and silence came back in return. The man could not find anything weird or disturbing at the moment he did watch in the direction of the canvas painting at the easel. He was glad to notice all seemed to be normal and at ease in the small bedroom of the dead woman he had found downstairs. The man shook his head and wiped his face, after which he took his glasses to clean them and to place the glasses back at its place at his nose in front of his eyes because the man had a -5 vision, so without glasses his sight sharpness was poor. I need to sleep. My mind is playing tricks to me, the man said to himself. For a moment he was staring at the painting with the young woman and the cat she held in her arms. That's weird. That cat looks the same as the black and white cat I noticed earlier here inside this room, the man mumbled while staring at the painting, which seemed to be alive in the flickering light and the shadows caused by the flaming burning torch in the big pot near the bed. The man felt his eyelids were heavy and his eyes were still a bit burning. How odd, it seems the young lady at the painted portrait is now staring at me. It must be an optical illusion caused by the light of the flickering flames and me being tired, he said while staring at the painted face of the young woman himself. The man now noticed a shadow moving fast in front of his eyes till it was out of his sight while he all the time kept looking at the painting. At the moment he had lost track of the fast-moving shadow. A meow sound was heard next to him, but the man did not pay any attention to it because his eyes were fixated at the young woman at the painting. He noticed with a shock that the young woman didn't hold the cat anymore in her arms, and he noticed her face was changed of painted angle while now openly rotated in his direction. The man started to sweat and his heart started to bounce, but strange enough he didn't sense any serious fear. This must be truly a delusion because my mind is tricking me again, he thought while the meowing sound now continued as a long cat song. Suddenly the man saw a hand appearing out of the painting. It was the hand of the young woman while a finger was pointed at him. The man he got slowly scared and could not move while still staring at the events of the painting. The man had the feeling he could not swallow, and he felt like a frozen stone because he was unable to control his body, while he had the feeling as if his heart was bouncing faster and faster and his breathing became also faster. Now an entire arm appeared out of the painting. The man could clearly see the brown sleeves of the dress. The man feared to get a heart attack, and sweat was clearly dripping from his face. Now the head of the young light-skinned ebony woman with dark hair came out of the painting, followed by her other hand. The man noticed clearly that the woman did not smile and that she all the time was watching at him as if she could see through him. "I'm losing my mind," the man thought while he saw how the upper body was also visible and that the woman had the right proportions of a real woman. Ghosts don't exist. This is a trick of my mind, or maybe I have a nightmare, he thought while being unable to move or to do anything else except for watching how the woman slowly stepped out of the painting while materializing in the bedroom in front of his eyes. The meowing sounds continued and the woman made her last moves in order to step out of the painting totally. The man's eyes were big and he did not feel tired anymore while he stared with clear fear in his eyes to the young woman who now totally materialized in front of his eyes. Is this the end? Will I be killed? Is this female entity good or evil? The man thought with great fear in his eyes while unable to move or to react, as if he was frozen. Suddenly the meowing sound of the cat silenced and he noticed the black and white cat standing next to the young woman. A cold wind was sensed since the moment the woman was busy stepping out of the painting, and now that wind blows freely inside the bedroom while increased in intensity. What the hell is happening here? This is not real, the man thought while swallowing difficult because of his increasing fear sensations which almost disabled him totally. The man clearly recognized the young woman who now slowly came closer to him while making him feel more scared because he could not understand what all happened around him. She was clearly and without any doubts the woman from the picture, and the same woman as noticed at the painting. She was the woman who died downstairs. The man cursed the fact he stayed in this room too long and that he not directly had made a turn to the light as planned earlier. He felt miserable and helpless. He felt he was not in control of the situation and he sensed he totally lost control over himself. Is this life or is this hell? Are these phantoms real or is all a delusion and a tricked reality of my mind? He thought while his clothes became wet of his sweat. I must have a nightmare and will awake in a few moments, the man thought while still looking at the female and the cat. The young woman and the black and white cat belong for sure to each other, the man concluded while he noticed the teamwork between the phantom cat and phantom non-smiling young woman of who he knew she was the ghost of the decomposing dead woman he had found earlier today downstairs. The man found it strange he felt fear for this non-smiling dead young woman who manifested herself after stepping out of the painting and clearly materializing herself in front of his eyes, and her cat companion who acted as her scout and servant. Till now he had all his fear and anxiety under control. Even at moments he thought he would lose his mind, but here the man felt clearly he was confronted with a dead person he saw earlier in an advanced decomposing stage, while maggots were there to eat the rotting flesh parts which were still present after so many time. The man could not place it at level of his logic that this woman resurrected from death by appearing to him as a ghost phantom. At moments she started to step out of the painted portrait that showed her self-portrait image. The man thought that evil forces must be behind the process of giving this dead young woman the power to manifest herself in this dimension of the living beyond the barrier of life and death. Suddenly the cat jumped at his direction and landed at his lap. At the moment the cat landed at his lap, the man started to scream out loud. It was an instinctive reaction based at extreme fear of the unknown he sensed at that moment. It was fear for evil and all that was related to evil and hell he clearly felt while losing control over himself and his emotions during the emotional outburst of the scream of a man fearing for his life. It was the scream of a man fearing to die a terrible death with extreme pain sensations caused by the unknown, and it was the scream of a man fearing the unknown and all that was related to the unknown while feeling helpless and captured and being a total prisoner of his own fear and anxiety. The man felt still being paralyzed and unable to move, while the only thing he could do was ventilating his feelings of being scared and his feelings of fear during this ventilated scream of a man thinking he would die. Yeah, this is the end. I will die or live. I will fight for my life till the end. Deo volenti. May God have mercy with my soul, the man said to himself while preparing himself to die, but not without a last fight. Okay then, if you want to kill me, then kill me and end my life. I will not fear you any longer. God is with me. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me to lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He leads me in the paths of righteousness for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of death, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff will comfort me. You prepared a table for me in the presence of my enemies. You anointest my head with oil, my cup is flowing over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I dwell in the house of the Lord forever. If I die, then I die in the name of God and Christ, but I won't fear you anymore, the man shouted non-stop and without fear while quoting Psalm 23. A psalm David's, and then becoming again his true old self while all the time shouting the phrases at the non-smiling dead young woman's phantom ghost, who now stood in front of him while face to face staring at him but doing nothing, as if she was there to listen to him. At the moment he slowly overcame his personal fears and anxiety. The man was still sitting at the bed, but now he slowly stood up while he was all the time looking the ghost phantom of the dead young woman straight in the eyes while she remained standing there where she stood all the time, and the cat, who all the time sat at his lap without doing anything, jumped away at the moment the man slowly stood up. He did not felt fear, and he was not being scared anymore. It was like a burden of stones and ice that earlier buried him and froze him in a prison of fear and anxiety were fallen from him. The man felt free and strong while now standing straight in front of the ghost phantom of the dead woman, who he accepted as a reality caused by circumstances and mind-related projections, no matter his actual state of mind and his regular reality focus and logic. It was for him not important anymore, not knowing any more of what is true or false. The only thing that truly counted for him was his deep faith in God and Christ and his immortal soul, and him being prepared to fight till the end no matter what reality he is in, because he felt he was still at his personal mission to survive at all costs, while willing to sell his life for what it is worth, for good and not for evil, while simultaneously him feeling guided by God and Christ. So in split seconds he accepted the existing reality of the here and now as a reality he had to deal with at this particular moment in time and space. He felt prepared to deal with issues of life and death and to die in case he wouldn't survive his quest in this world he was in. The man was breathing loudly while staring in the eyes of the dead phantom ghost young woman. The cat was silent and stood next to his mistress. The phantom ghost of the non-smiling dead young woman did not act and kept staring at him as if she wanted to observe him more closer and to look him directly in his soul. The man wiped his sweat-dripping face while not losing his focus from the phantom ghost of the dead young woman. The dead young woman then opened her mouth to speak. You prayed for me while you was downstairs by my physical remains, and you showed respect for me and my parents who died in their bedroom. The dead woman said with a clear-to-understand hollow voice. Don't be afraid, I mean you no harm, she continues. Please sit down. The phantom ghost of the dead young woman requested the man. The man slowly sat down again at the bed that belonged to the dead young woman whose phantom ghost just appeared to him. Who are you and why are you here while haunting me? The man asked the female phantom ghost in front of him while he took his glasses to clean them and then to place them back so his sight was clear again. The man felt at ease by now, and he did breath normally while his heartbeat was also restored to normal. It was as if it was normal to have a conversation with a female phantom ghost. I am here to help you and to tell you to go to the light in the big building at the end of Main Street, where you will find all answers you are longing for, the ghost of the dead young woman said to the man with her hollow voice. You still did not answer the question who you are, the man said while still looking to the materialized dead young woman who talked to him. I'm the daughter of the man and woman you found in the other room. My name is Paula. I'm in reality a manifestation of your mind as you project me to see me. I'm part of you and I came here because of you wanted me to come here," the phantom ghost of the dead woman said as reply at his question. "What do you mean I asked for you?" The man asked further because as far as he knew he did not ask anybody to come, so it puzzled him. "You asked me to come by asking for answers and while looking at my painting. Don't forget I'm part of you, so you created me, and by asking for answers to enlighten you I appeared as requested to answer you," the phantom ghost of the dead young woman called Paula answered. "What exactly do you mean with I created you?" The man asked. "I'm part of you just as you are part of you. I exist as a projection of your mind as you want to see me in order to talk and to communicate with me. You and I are parts of the total you," the woman replied while slowly starting to faint. "I don't understand what you mean. Please tell me more," the man begged the now slowly fainting phantom ghost of the dead young woman. The phantom ghost called Paula now smiled for the first time and started then to laugh loudly, so her hollow laugh echoed in the bedroom. "You and I are part of the total you. Think about it and try to understand," the ghostly appearance of Paula continued. The man clearly didn't want the ghostly appearance of Paula disappear this soon, while his mind was confused about the answers he got from her, which gave him more questions as answers. "Think about it. In time all will be clear to you. Go to the light, but first get some rest," the ghost of Paula said while she smiled at him. Then she looked at the painting where she originated from, which at this time showed an empty space where she had left it at the moment she stepped into his dimension and time frame. The ghost of the dead woman slowly went to the painting while also slowly fainting, and then she stepped back inside the painting the way she earlier had used to appear to the man. "Goodbye, my dear friend. Thank you for praying for me," the phantom ghost of the dead young woman said for a last time till she disappeared from the reality dimension of the man. "Wait," the man shouted in order to try to stop the young woman to disappear completely while still confused and hoping she would reappear to him. But all kept silent except for a meowing sound of the cat he still saw in front of him, till the moment the cat jumped in the direction of the painting and also disappeared out of the reality sphere of the man back inside the painting to his mistress and back in her arms. The man looked at the painting and now noticed the young woman called Paula back at her old place with the cat in her arms as if nothing extraordinary had happened. But while the man looked closer, he noticed that the young woman at the painting was smiling at him, which made his eyes moist, so his tears started to run over his cheeks. "Thank you, dear Paula, may God be with you," the man said, while drying his eyes and cheeks from the still running tears. A soft meow sound was heard, after which silence filled the room and its surroundings except for the sobbing sounds of the man who tried to silence his tears. It takes some time for the man to acclimatize and to regain control over himself. He wipes his face and feels totally confronted with himself and the strange situation he is in while thinking of the words of the phantom ghost called Paula. The man feels puzzled and confused. He can't see the true depth, meaning and impact of what is revealed like a revelation to him, and by doing so he can't notice its full significance. The earlier felt energy boost at moment he thought to die and thus to fear for his life that made him drain his physical and mental reserves to prepare for an all-or-nothing fight in order to survive made slowly place for a renewed feeling of exhaustion because of his drained physical and mental reserves, which now started to scream to get reloaded. The man was glad that the female phantom ghost of Paula appeared to be a phantom ghost of the good and not of the evil, and that his fears of him being scared to die by the hands of a female phantom ghost were not needed, but that these fears made he could prepare for a final confrontation by means of an energized counter-reaction that made him break his till that moment existing paralyzed situation of him being a helpless victim imprisoned by fear and scared to die, and because of these facts he could, by breaking of the existing paralyzed paralyzing situation transform into a fighter to fight in order to try to survive and to find solutions to break the status quo after breaking of the paralyzed situation where he felt to be trapped in because of the fact that the paralyzing situation made he stayed helpless and without power to make the difference because of him still trapped in that situation till the moment he could break free and to build confidence to resist and to fight. The man again watched the self-portrait painting of Paula and noticed that the painting was changed back to its original form with an unsmiling Paula who holds her black and white cat in her arms. It was as if nothing extraordinary had happened and that all projected events related to Paula and her cat only took place in his mind as part of his diluted imagination triggered by his mental and physical exhaustion. For a moment the man felt trapped in a parallel world of reality and fiction while feeling helpless and unable to determine of what's true or false. Then he slowly came to his senses by refining himself while thinking all witnessed events must be related to archetypal projections to help and to guide him on his quest to survive and to move on while knowing that if he would fail that he would surely die. Cold chills were felt by the man who for a moment shivers before regaining control of himself. The man felt happy he was a man of logic and logical thinking and that he was a man of facts but that he also was a man who was prepared to look beyond the regular patterns in order to investigate new options and new ideas that could improve and enlarge his knowledge of understanding. He was not bound and trapped by narrowing visions and conservative ideas because he knew that innovation and innovative ideas were the key for progress and that looking beyond the regular conventions and ideas was part of it. This knowledge and understanding made that the man felt he could survive in the world he felt trapped in at this particular moment in time and space because he was prepared to look beyond the regular conventions in order to investigate and to gain its benefits and to integrate all knowledge for as far useful for him to survive which was not limited to the existing material level of his present existence in this world but it extends also at a material level of his true being in this world where he had to survive. The man felt hungry and thirsty so he took his backpack and took out a bottle of water and started to drink small sips to ease his thirst and then he put the bottle back inside the backpack while opening the towel with cooked cut heart and cut liver parts of the dog he had killed earlier this evening and he took some cut liver parts to eat and to ease his hunger sensations. Who am I to doubt reality and reality sense and focus as appeared to me no matter the nature of the appearance? The man said to himself while chewing and swallowing a piece of dog liver. It's all about revealed truth and understanding and the logic of how to implement all while gaining its useful benefits, he continued while thinking of the events that took place here in this bedroom moments earlier. The man accepted the projected energetic metaphysical happenings and the appeared female phantom ghost Paula who acted as an archetypal source for the revealed information he now got and now slowly processed but he still could not see yet the true meaning of all and he also rejected the idea that he slowly was becoming insane because he concluded his sense of reality and logic was still functional no matter the weird situation he was in during the moment of energetic metaphorical projections and that he was still busy adapting a level of conditions and circumstances related to the new situation of reality around him while he also has the feeling he was succeeding to adapt and to survive till now in the here and now of his present situation no matter his personal mental and physical state and condition he was in at this moment. For the moment the man felt safe and protected and capable to deal with his existing situation in order to face his present reality in the here and now where he was at this time and place of reality. The man felt God and Christ were with him because of his faith and that the young female phantom ghost Paula was sent to him to provide him some information needed to see facts of his present reality and to strengthen him to continue his quest to go to the light at the end of Main Street. The man did not felt to be trapped in a vicious circle with no option to escape and he felt happy he had experienced the vision related to Paula no matter the circumstances of that moment. All accumulated developments and his analysis of the total sum of all and the related conclusions made by him had given him renewed strength and he was determined to not give up and to survive at all costs in order to reach his goal which seems to be the light where he could find answers and safety in order to help him further at his path towards his destiny in life. The prospect of leaving this house, where he was in at this moment in time and which he considered to be a place of death and decay, made him feel good, and he felt he could leave this place of death and decay at moment he felt capable of doing so after taking rest and strengthening himself. This all made he knew he had still control over his own decisions and that he had his own fate into his own naked hands. The man still stood behind his decision earlier this night to enter this house after killing of the dog that wanted to kill him during their mutual battle at life and death. He did decide at that moment in time to enter the house in order to investigate it, in order to find answers that could enlighten him and giving him some clues to help him further. Next to the fact he found things that accommodated his needs that increased his chance of survival. The fact that the man found death and advanced decaying smelly rotting corpses of died people inside the house had not scared him off to step down and to flee, because his needs and curiosity appeared to be stronger as his own fear for a found dead family that died an unknown and still unexplained sudden death. The man's only moment of true fear and feeling totally paralyzed was the moment he had his encounter with the female phantom ghost Paula, of who he feared she was materialized from out of another dimension to kill him and to take his immortal soul to hell, which was lucky for him not the case, because he found out she was part of the good to guide him and to open his eyes, so she was not part of evil, which was a great relief for the man. However, the man was not totally free of fears, because his greatest fear was that he would lose his mind and that he was slowly becoming insane and incapable to survive, so he would die without completing his mission to survive and to save himself. While eating dog liver pieces, the man had briefly recalled and evaluated the events of happenings and his state of mind since moment of his arrival here at this house, and he smiled for a moment. At moment his eyes stared at the painted portrait of Paula while taking a last bite of a piece of cooked dog liver, after which he put the towel with the dog meat back in his backpack in order to take out a bottle of water to ease thirsty sensations and to flush and cleanse his mouth, after which he placed back the bottle inside his backpack after finishing of his actions. The man cursed the fact he had not asked the phantom ghost of Paula of how she and her parents died here in this house of death, and if she knew what happened here in this town. The man notices that his torch is almost burned, so he takes the existing burning torch out of the big pot next to the bed in order to find a replacement, but he didn't want it to destroy any wooden parts of the bedroom interior of the young dead woman called Paula, because he felt he had a special bond and connection with her because of the experienced imagined real-looking or truly real-looking real-time events with her, which nature of reality was of no importance for him, because no matter the nature of experienced reality, since it was a fact that the experienced events had made, that he felt deep respect for her, which goes beyond facts of life and death. So he forced his tired body to stand up after he at first did put back at his belt side the big meat knife, and he also picked up the backpack from where it lay, after which he stumbled to the bedroom door in order to open it and to close it so he could go downstairs via the stairs in order to go to the kitchen in order to see if there were still some wood parts left at the floor where he earlier this night demolished one of the kitchen chairs far before he took out the 2 kitchen chairs he had needed to start a fire pile in order to roast the dog he had killed earlier that night. The man was happy he found a broken part of the first kitchen chair he had demolished, and that was suitable to serve as a torch to replace the almost burned old torch, so he picked up the broken wood part and used the old torch and its flames to set the new torch in flames, so the man had still access to a burning torch that delivers light via its flickering flames. The man then walked with both torches to the front door and opened that door in order to close it again after he threw out at a non-dangerous place the still flaming last part of the old burning torch. The man was pleased with his new flaming torch and went back to the stairs and opened the toilet room entrance near the stairs at his left side while still downstairs, because he felt the urge to pee before going back upstairs to the bedroom of Paula for a short nap, because he felt he needed a short sleep, which was the main reason he wanted to go back to Paula's bedroom, because he also knew it was a safe place for him to be while sleeping. The man stepped inside the toilet room, which had the same black and white floor pattern as the entrance hall. Then he opened the closed toilet seat, after which he took out his penis after unzipping his trousers and started to pee inside the toilet pot, which gave him a good feeling. Now he again could empty his bladder. The walls of the toilet room were white and there were cobwebs noticed in the room next to the fact that the toilet room was dusty because of being covered with layers of dust, but the man neglected that all because of him being busy peeing. After peeing he cleaned his penis and put it back inside his underpants, after which he zipped his trousers and wiping his hands at an old towel he clearly noticed at a small sink with a water tap next to the toilet pot. The man knew it was useless to open the water tap or to flush the toilet pot because of his previous experiences with water taps inside the house, which provided him a stinky smelling black watery drab which made him almost puke. Yeah, only a stupid idiot falls again in the trap of opening the tap for black dirty smelling watery drab, the man said with a loud voice while laughing for a short moment, because right now at this moment he saw the humor of it at level of short mind projections in relation to a repeated black watery drab splashing event and him puking because of the extreme smell as part of malicious pleasure, with himself as key target of focus. The man was clearly happy he still had some sense of humor given his present situation. The man stepped outside the toilet room and closed the toilet room related door. At that moment the man noticed in a corner near the door of the living room the bony remains of the totally decayed but mummified animal. The man had not noticed the animal remains earlier during his earlier investigation of the house, but now in the flickering light of his torch and him leaving the toilet area while watching at the floor he saw the dead animal and he recognized quickly without hesitation that the dead animal was a feline predator. The man immediately thought of the black and white cat at the painting upstairs in the bedroom of Paula. This must be the remains of the black and white cat of Paula. I will reunite the cat with Paula so both will be reunited no matter the fact they are dead, the man said, no matter the fact he still felt very tired at that moment and that his tormented body needed to rest. The man went back to the front door where he found an old long time ago delivered and dust-covered big magazine which he earlier already saw lying at the floor but which at that moment was of no significant meaning for him. He picked up the magazine and went back to the remains of the cat which lay in a corner near the door of the living room in extend of the hall. He opened the magazine and shoved it under the remains of the cat till all remains were at the magazine. It was not difficult for him to do so because the cat remains were a bit mummified with the skeleton bones still attached. The man clamped his new torch between his arm after opening of the living room, after which he picked up the remains of the cat. He then stumbled in the direction of the dead woman inside the living room where she sat in the armchair where she died and where he had found her earlier this night. The man now stood in front of the decomposing dead woman and carefully he placed the remains of the dead cat complete with the magazine at her lap. He was pleased to have delivered the cat to the mistress of the cat who truly loved the cat, which conclusion he based at his memories of the projected painting upstairs in her bedroom where she holds the cat in her arms. Dear Paula, I found your cat you loved that much and placed the cat at your lap so you both are united at your resting place here in your armchair, the man said with a soft voice. Death is a transition to another world and dimension. I hope you both have found each other in that dimension so you are both together just like you painted yourself together with your cat at your beautiful painting upstairs. May God be with you and your cat, dear Paula, and may you both find peace. Rest in peace with your cat. Farewell dear Paula, and thank you for your presence earlier this night, the man said while tears were running from his eyes. A cold blow of wind out of nothing touched the man's face. Thank you, a hollow female voice replied, while also a clear meow sound briefly was heard, after which all became silent. My pleasure, the man said softly while tears were running freely. No matter his tears, the man was happy he got a response from Paula and her cat. Yes, I'm tired, and although I again did hear Paula and her cat because of my mind which is maybe playing a game of its own, so I maybe imagine myself facts of reality. I'm still pleased I noticed Paula and her cat because I care, he thought while accepting the circumstances of happenings for what they meant to him given his own circumstances and experiences in this house of the dead family. The man took some time to get grip at himself, and after he got grip at himself he wiped his face clean while looking for a last time to the decomposing remains of the dead woman and the mummified remains of the dead cat at her lap. He bowed his head and then he went to the hall where he closed the door of the living room so the young woman would be there resting in peace together with her cat while sitting in her armchair and nobody to disturb their resting place. The man felt tired and stumbled at the stairs while returning to the bedroom of Paula to get some rest before continuing his walk to the light in the big building at Main Street. Upstairs the man opened the door of the bedroom of Paula and stepped inside the room, after which he closed the door. He placed the burning torch inside the big pot near the bed together with one of his big meat knives. The man was pleased to be back inside the bedroom and sat down at the bed after he first threw his backpack at the bed. He stared at the painting of Paula and noticed to his surprise that her portrait now showed a soft smile at her face, while also the sun was visible at the painting and the trees weren't bald anymore but had leaves. The man smiled after he had observed the slight changes at the painting. He also noticed that the black and white cat seemed to look at him while being happy and comfortably resting in the arms of Paula. The man took a deep breath while sensing a warm feeling inside his body. He was not surprised anymore of unexplainable happenings because he blamed all illusions as a trick of his tired mind and him feeling exhausted and in need of rest, so he accepted manifest realities no matter their nature of origin as realities of the moment in the here and now while trying to adapt as good as possible. He slowly picks up his backpack from the bed in order to take a drink to ease his thirst, after which he placed back the bottle of water he had used for the drink to ease his thirst. The man coughs and spits slime at the bedroom floor to get rid of the slime he just coughs up from out of his throat. This coughing action was triggered by irritating dust particles because of him being inside the dusty environment. "Sorry Paula for spitting at the floor of your bedroom," he mumbles while staring at her painting. The man felt pain impulses from his right leg shooting through his body, and again he reached for his backpack to take a painkiller with some water to ease down the pain. The man's mind felt clouded and less sharp because of exhaustion and a minor headache which had accompanied him for the last 15 minutes, which was now easing down because of the swallowed painkiller. Why am I suffering, and why do I see and notice things that must be part of my own imagination? Is this live while feeling pain and misery? I feel I fight constantly my own demons while still not knowing who I am, where I came from and how I came here in this town while wounded and with gaps in my memory. I wonder what it means that Paula said that she and I are both part of me, and why do I take her serious because she must be part of a delusion caused by my present state of exhaustion and my own mind playing tricks with me. How can I be part of me unless I'm inside myself, or I must be a prisoner of myself while caught inside myself? How ridiculous, because if that would be true, then how can that be? I can only exist as a human being from out of its wholeness of body and mind, or am I an immaterial energy independent from my own body, only attached for the moment of the biological life cycle and its time limitation from moment of life till moment of death? No more deep thoughts for this moment because I'm too tired, and as noticed by myself I'm in my own world because I breath, I feel pain, I bleed, I have emotions, I eat, I drink, I pee, and I feel exhausted, and so on. If I was not real, then I could not think or experience or feel and live. If I'm not real, then this whole world including me is an illusion. Yes, this is absurd and insane. I need to rest for half an hour in order to reload and to recover a bit, the man thought while lying down at the bed because he planned to take a short nap to ease his mind and troubled thoughts. The man again spit at the floor and then he closed his eyes after he was watching at his watch in order to know what time it is at this moment. He noticed it was almost 3:30 in the morning. Slowly the man felt himself sliding away at moment he had closed his eyes, while his body started to relax and he eventually felt asleep. The man was fallen in a restless sleep while troubled by dreams, visions and nightmares which appeared as a revelation based at past, present and future projections all mixed together. The energetic dreams showed content of his unconscious mind revealed at energetic subconscious level of mind. Flashes of images appeared showing him projections of abstractions and hidden in mind realities. Projections which were alternating clear or vague and blur while giving him all kind of emotional sensations while simultaneously also affecting his body and mind. The man dreamed about a happy life while being married with the woman he loved since the moment they met. It was love at first sight. It was a passionate love that never died and matured and grew over the years. He saw himself and his wife becoming older while still led by love, which clearly was a mutual love based at mutual understanding. The man clearly loved, adored and respected her while she in return loved, adored and respected him. The man noticed he was being a professional independent small business coach and social worker, being specialized in finances and behavioral therapy and having a practice of his own. He dreamed about him helping people in need of help, guidance and assistance. He dreamed about love and devotion. Suddenly his dreams changed and became nightmares where he saw and felt pain, misery and sorrow. He had visions of a terrible accident, death and him dying. The man was now sweating extensively and making restless moves with his body while still lying at bed and in the deep dream stage of his inner nightmares and nightmare-related projections, and being tormented by his own nightmares of pain and agony while constantly sensing death and destruction all around him, while death constantly is reaching its claws towards him in order to try to catch him and to trick him, while all the time a big church bell was heard. It was the bell of death, which noisy sound was clearly calling him while telling him it is his time to die and that escape isn't possible. The man instinctively knew in his nightmare dream visions that the death bell was calling him, so he tries to escape while knowing death can't be tricked and that eventually death would take him no matter his will to live, because death is stronger as his will to live and to survive. If time is there, he is called to die. The man saw darkness and him being trapped inside that darkness while fighting in order to try to escape and to get out of the darkness. He saw surrealistic images of dead people walking around him, touching him and calling him. He saw himself running in order to escape while fighting his own demons and fears while constantly sensing deep emotional and physical pain and fear. The man felt he was inside his own personal hell while falling in a deep pit. The man was falling and he felt all sensations of falling inside his body while he screams of fear, but the fall could not be stopped or interrupted. The man noticed how darkness swallowed him, and then suddenly he hit the ground with a feeling as if he had broken all bones inside his body. The man looked around him while noticing he was wounded and that his mind was troubled and blur. The man now clearly noticed an orange-reddish glow related to the earlier total darkness. Then he recognized he was in a small town in a surrealistic environment. While not knowing who he was, all he knew he had to find a way out of this world in order to save himself. The man was breathing heavily while still lying at the bed inside the bedroom of Paula and being wet of his own sweat. His face was like a dead mask, pale and sweaty, and at certain times the man screams and shakes his body during his revelation trip, which had changed into a personal drama and nightmare which is consuming the man totally during his restless sleep. The man had no control of the shifting dream images that seemed to absorb his mind, but the dream nightmares revealed truth about his true self to help him understand some facts of his life and who he is. The man dreams that a big dark evil undefined entity is scratching the ground all around him while he tries to run away in order to escape fate, but how harder he runs the scratching sounds became louder and he felt being touched by razor-sharp nails which were simultaneously ripping out a piece of flesh out of his body. At moment he jumps in a pit, so he screams because of a deep pain. At moment his flesh got tricked out during his jump while blood is spurting out of his physical flesh wounds. The man falls and falls while he sensed his fall as an endless fall into the unknown. Then again he hits the floor while noticing he is back in the small town with its orange-reddish glowing darkness. He noticed a distant light that seemed to attract him and he starts walking a stumbling walk while hearing voices telling him to go to the light. The man screams out loud while falling from the bed where he was lying moments earlier, and he was wild kicking with his legs because he was still thinking being inside of the nightmare projections, while at that moment he accidentally did hit the big pot with the burning torch, which during its fall immediately hit him at his kicking legs while simultaneously setting a small part of his right lower trouser pipe in flames. With a loud scream the man awoke and noticed the burning torch which had hit him and which had set a small lower part of his right leg related trousers pipe in fire, so his flesh got burned. The man reacted fast and did extinct the flames of the lower part of his right trouser pipe after grabbing a bottle of water out of his backpack and throwing the water over the burning part of the right trouser pipe, and then using his backpack to place it over the burned part so all was under control and without sincere deep burning wounds because of his fast action to extinct the flames. He then started replacing the big pot back to its original place with the burning torch and the big meat knife back inside it, after which he took out his trousers and started to treat his burn wound by rubbing the burn wound with aloe vera, which he took out of his backpack, after which he taped the wound with gauze and the medical tape while cursing the fact he was fallen out of the bed during his nightmare, which was still burned in his mind. The man took the burning torch out of the big pot and stumbled towards the master bedroom in order to search for new trousers. He left the bedroom after carefully closing the bedroom door. At moment he did pass the door of Paula's bedroom, while moments later he briefly stopped at the door of the master bedroom to wipe his sweaty face. He felt a bit odd while walking at the upper floor fully dressed except for his trousers. The man opened the master bedroom's door and stepped inside while immediately sensing the terrible rotting smell of the rotting, decomposing corpses of the parents of Paula. The man did not pay any attention to the rotting corpses of Paula's parents anymore and stumbled straight to the closet part of the father of Paula in order to search for trousers he could use, and then after finding new similar black trousers in the clothes closet part of the father of Paula, he made a turn and stumbled back to the master bedroom door, and at moment he had passed the door he slammed the door back so it closed with a hard noise. The sound of the slammed door echoed for a short moment of time through the house. The man acted so because he was rushing himself, as if he felt time was running out and him being in a hurry to make the difference. He quickly opened the bedroom door of Paula's bedroom and closed it at moment he was inside the bedroom. After the man was returned to the bedroom of Paula, he first placed back inside the big pot the burning torch, after which he took the new black trousers in order to attach and placed the belt and the knife holder with his buck knife at the new black trousers, which took him longer as expected because of still being a bit distracted because of all happenings of the past moments, but after he was pleased he then put the black trousers on and adjusted the belt at his side to let the new trousers fit at his waist. "Fuck man, this have never may happening, but I am pleased no serious damage happened," he said, while knowing all was an accident caused by his tormenting nightmares during his restless sleep. The man sat down at the bed, wiped his face, and then he started to clean his glasses, after which he placed the glasses back at its place near his eyes so he again had his sight optimized, because without his glasses his sight was blur. He wanted to know the time and noticed it was 4:10 in the morning. After watching the time at his watch he did wear at his left wrist. The man was now, because of the nightmare and the small fire accident, fully awake and took another painkiller out of his backpack, which he swallowed together with water from his water bottle. The man put all used items back inside the backpack and sat down at the bed. He knew he only had slept for a short time, but that short time was like hours because of his tormenting visions and nightmares. He was thinking of his dream-revealed projections that had showed him energetic content of archetypal projections related to his troubled mind. For as far as he could remember, his nightmare dream projections, which started with his life in a normal world, with a lovely wife, and ended here in this desolate world, he tried to follow its pattern to find out for himself what's real and what is not real. But he clearly had recognized the classic dressed shoulder-length graying brunette middle-aged woman with glasses who seems to be his wife. The thought of the woman made automatically his tears began to run over his cheeks while he sat at the bed. The man instantly felt a deep emotional pain at moment his tears started to flow, tears he could not stop, so he cried while suddenly screaming, "Nina! My lovely Nina." End of Chapter 1, Drifter Adrift. Education section, comprehensive reading or listening. Chapter 1, The Drifter Adrift. Summary. A wounded man with memory loss arrives in an unknown mysterious small town while seeking for help. The man feels attracted to a light that seems to obsess him. He has no name, gets attacked and has to defend himself while fleeing to a house. The man finds shelter in a house where he breaks in, so he has a place to treat his wounds and to eat and sleep. The house where the man broke in has a story and history of its own, so the man investigates the house in order to find answers of what happened and to accommodate his own needs, while all the time the man is haunted by his own demons he fights. In the meantime he is doing all to survive while also trying to find answers related to himself. Tasks: self-assessment, answer the questions and the discussion issues below. Write a brief chapter summary based at your own words. Questions: how would you describe the village? What can you tell about the main character of the story known as the man? Why do you think the man has no name? What can you tell about the house where the man broke in? What do you think are the biggest fears of the man? What can you tell about the middle-aged brunette woman with graying hair? What can you tell about Paula and her parents? What are the main goals of the man? What can you tell about the content of the backpack of the man? What can you tell about the clothes of the man? What can you tell about the house condition and house interior? What can you tell about the self-portrait painting? Who all died in the house? What kind of animals are found inside the house? What can you tell about the cat? What can you tell about the dog? What can you tell about the mental and physical condition of the man? What can you tell about the wounds and medical care related to the man? What did the man eat and drink? How would you describe the situation where the man is involved? What can you tell about the smell in the village and in the house? What can you tell about the light? What do you think is the profession of the man? What can you tell about the nightmare, its origin and its nature related to the man? Who do you think that Nina is and how do you think she is related to the man? Discussion: the main character of the story, the man faces memory loss while also being wounded and he tries to survive. What do you know about memory loss and how would you try to survive if you was in the shoes of the man while trying to survive? How would you describe the story as revealed in The Drifter Adrift? What is your personal opinion about the man and the events related to the man? Islands of Pain, Hope and Love, a psychological drama thriller, by Dr. Herman Fridsma. Copyrights, Dr. Herman Fridsma, Netherlands, October 2015. Contact email address, dr.herman.fridsma@gmail.com. Author, Dr. Herman Fridsma, born May 4, 1964 in the Netherlands.